That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Arvanauts, to another session, day 10 of Adventures in Middle-earth Erebor Adventures. I hope everyone is doing well and is looking forward to what I hope is going to be an awesome session today. I'm very excited for it, actually. I am looking forward to seeing how the intrepid crew kind of plays out their next steps. It's going to be interesting to see. I hope everyone is doing well and looking forward to the session and is excited for what is to come. But before we get into that, I do want to remind everybody about a couple of things, and then I'm going to give, well, I'll talk about this other aspect in a moment. So, but I want to remind everybody about ways to support us here on the channel. If you have not done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. Please make sure to check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, where you can find past broadcasts of this and other streams. !ArvCord is the Discord channel, which is always hopping. We have, I think, 217 members over there now, something like that. So always things going on over there. Please jump on board to support us over there if you can and hang out with us there. And you can find my Twitter over at !ArvTweets, where I always try to tweet when I'm going live. And I talk there about streaming and gaming and teaching and writing and music and, game mastering and family and occasional politics stuff as well over there. And you can find all of this on our website, arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, you can support us by checking out the, first of all, the shop, !Arv Shop, which has Adventures in Middle-earth material. It has Infinity and Beyond material, a group that I'm going to be talking about in just a moment. And it has also got soon to be getting Espergenesis stuff over there as well. So that's !Arv Shop. Patreon is !ArvTreon, which is, as you see, sitting at 22 patrons, $240 a month. After fees, I think that's like $195, $200, something like that after fees. So again, that really supports the channel. It allows us to put money back into the channel, allows us to pay for audio editing, allows me to, pick up games that are picked up by the Patreon Field Chat Chosen Game of the Month votes and things like that. So all of that is very much appreciated if you could jump on board to support us there. You can also get cool stuff for yourself, like a copy of one of my band's albums. You can get a copy of, you can also get some professional critiques of your writing. You can get some background on your character if you want, like an epic character background, epic poem written about you, and stuff like that. All of that is possible through the Patreon. And last but certainly not least, we've got the sub button, which is sitting right there in the video window. The sub button allows us to support the channel as well. You get custom sub badges and emotes and things like that, all of which make a big difference. And again, you can also find ways to inspire the players if the players need inspiration. I don't know if they'll need them tonight or not. We're going to see. We're going to see if they do. It's going to be an interesting situation. So that is what you can do with the Patreon and the sub button. Last but certainly not least, on the publishing side, Icarus is my Icarus graphic novel, just released on November 10th. November 10th. Yes, November 10th. From Athos Arts 1 week ago. Officially came out in retail. It is available now from Athos, and I'm very excited about this. The sort of early critical reception has been excellent. We're trying to build this up as much as we possibly can. So we've got that going on. Icarus. Library is Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, our 5e adventure and sourcebook, which makes a real difference as well if you can support us there. From Alligator Alley Entertainment, available already in digital form. It's been over at Drive-Thru RPG for a few months now. Is a silver seller over there, so it's doing very well. The print editions are en route. Again, the pandemic has been absolute havoc in the completion of the print versions, but the print versions are being printed and are being shipped as we speak. So very, very soon. I know I keep saying it every week, but I keep meaning it every week. It's all over but the shouting, as they say, and I really want this to get out to people. And I want to hold it myself, hold it in my own little hands there, my own little creation. So I'm really hoping that we can get that very soon. And then last but certainly not least, Grayshade KS, the Grayshade Kickstarter for my book/game/RPG/audiobook. All of that is going to be launching February 2nd, 2021. So that's what we're looking forward to as far as that is concerned. And the last thing I need to mention about this is BLM, Black Lives Matter. Again, this continues to be important and will continue to be important, and we are very excited to continue to spread the word about the importance of affirming and asserting the significance of Black lives. And so you can find resources over there and places where you can support that information in those categories. So I'm very I want to be clear that it's important for us to continue to push this as much as we can. Now, on the schedule front, we've got Adventures of Middle-earth Erebor Adventures today at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll be over on GOG. This is actually the first week, Rock God pointed this out, and I believe this is the first week in a long time that literally every single tabletop campaign that I run or have hosted on my channel is taking place in the same week. On Sunday, we had the Twitch Speculate joint event of Blades in the Dark. Yesterday, we had Emberwind with the Ember crew. Today, we have Adventures of Middle-earth, and then at 4 p.m. Eastern over on GOG, Pen and Pixels and D&D with GOG Storm King's Thunder, also debuting a new video for that, so you will want to make sure that you're there for that. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern. This evening, by the way, we will have at 9 p.m. Eastern the Our Vocalists returning with Paper Mario, the Origami King. That is always a blast, so you will want to stick around for that. It is always a lot of fun. That's going to be this evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, we have Community D&D with Dragon of Icespire Peak with a Shadow crew, including Triffity Metz, who is in chat, and Rock God and Hoodie and Echo Alpha X5, and Shadowed Mage as your DM. So that's going to be super exciting. Yeah, I always love that game, Garlic Tofu. Good to see you, by the way, Garlic Tofu. I need to come back to Athos, but I'll do that in a minute. So Wednesday, Community D&D, that'll be happening at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thursday, we have off. It's the only day we have off this week. Friday, we have Esper Genesis with the Esper crew. That campaign is really picking up, and there's a whole ton going on there. That's going to be exciting. That happens at 8:30 p.m. Friday night, Eastern. Then Saturday, we have the final conclusion, the actual conclusion this time, of D&D with Infinity and Beyond Curse of Strahd. Very excited for that. And then on Sunday, we have Soundclash, the Clampdown, the fundraiser, which is an all-day event to raise money for Soundclash the Clampdown. So basically, within 1 week, every campaign that I am involved in or that I play in, well, I guess I don't play in any of it, although I will be playing a little bit on the Soundclash Clampdown fundraiser. But anyone during the course of the week is all of those games are going to be in 1 week. So it's going to be pretty crazy, and I'm pretty excited about it. What's up, Rising Tides? Speak of the devil. So yes, I am very excited to have all of that. Now, just very quickly before I cut over to the players, because we have something that I want to make sure they have a chance to say. That is, I want to mention this, which is this book box that Athos is doing. The athos.com/bookbox. It is the Midwest Spec Fic book box. Shouldn't be book box, which is happening. And it is a very cool collaboration, actually, between 4 separate publishers, and including Athos Arts. And obviously, not only do I have great respect for Athos Arts, but this is a really cool deal, which is, I mean, first of all, if you like speculative fiction, this is a great deal anyway. But also, I think it was Garlic Tofu who said earlier on her Twitter that it's about also buying your values, shopping your values. And I think there's something to be said for that. This is a way that you can get a huge value on books for a cheaper price and support these publishers at the same time. It's only going to be up for a few more days. So now is the time to jump on board with it. And yeah, please go over there and support it if you can, because it is good stuff. Now, with that said, the time has come for us to continue with Adventures of Middle-earth Erebor Adventures Day 10. And so I'm going to unmute myself, apologizing as always for interrupting them, as I probably have done. And then I'm going to unmute them, and then I'm going to head over to reveal. Dun, dun, dun. There is the full crew. Not the full crew, almost the full crew. I literally was going to say, like, it's not the full crew, and then I just decided I would say the opposite of that. It's not the full crew. Amal Elmatar, who normally plays the river, is buried in grading and thus has to miss today. And let me tell you who does not have a problem with someone missing because of grading time. Two thumbs, this guy. I know exactly what that's all about, and I'm going to be dealing with it again myself coming on Thursday. So, yes, that is completely fine, and Mal's fine, and she will be back with us next week, actually. I believe that is on the 24th. She'll be back with us for the second of these sessions. But in the meantime, she is not here, and so we have 3 of our intrepid crew. And the last person in that crew, I'm going to want to have speak a little bit longer about an important subject, but I'll get to her in just a moment. I will begin by talking about the gentleman right below me, one Mr. Trendane Sparks. Hello, Tren. How is life in the universe with you, and how goes everything? I know you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today, as the saying goes, and super awake, you know, in every respect. How are you doing, Trent?
I had something I was going to say, and I just forgot it. Probably because I'm super sleepy, because I work nights. Oh, happy birthday, Gordon Lightfoot.
Yes.
Uh,
If you could
and
read
then
my mind,
yeah.
love.
While we're playing, I will either be having some of these delicious pitted dates, which
There
I
are
bought.
commits. One commit is where
What?
Flash has added its own namespace, construct system, and here
sorry,
are
that's
all
mine.
the
Sorry.
customization.
I was like,
I was like,
that
I was
is
like,
I was
I
like,
hear a
that is
voice.
I
none
have
of
no
our
idea what's
voices.
going on. I just was like, I was like,
Not to Twitch to get into the channel, and then I forgot that it like automatically starts something.
yeah, I was just kind of like, I'm like, this is clearly one of Trent's jokes that he's going to do the punchline in just a moment.
And even
And
now, and I was kind of thinking the same thing, but I was like, that is none of our voices.
yeah, it's just like,
I
what is
don't
that?
recognize that voice.
Taking over for Amal today is
Yeah, exactly. Hello, welcome to everyone.
our guest from Japan.
I am playing the river. Anyway,
If
you were
I-
saying, Trent?
if I not wind up having pitted dates today that I bought in massive bulk, I will be eating sun-made raisins. This is one of the 2-pound bags.
wrong
that
one.
I have.
Okay, there we go.
No, it's the right one.
All right, so there was Trent. I just make sure I removed him altogether, and it's good to see.
Wow.
Man, I don't know how that happened. It's just a power outage that only affected one window.
Hey,
which means-
we got pretty high winds here right now. So
Yeah.
it's possible that the power may go out.
it's true. It's very true. Who are you playing today, Trent?
I don't know, some guy. Also, the other thing that I was actually going to, we're not certain that it's going to be the last episode of Curse of Strahd, because we were sure of that the last time.
Well, listen, I'm going to put it this way. If it's not over by then we've got a problem. I mean, I understand boss fights, but geez, I have a feeling it'll be over one way or the other.
Well,
We
yeah.
will see.
Yeah, like I said, Weller has just had it with Strahd's shit. He's going to be just talking smack to that guy constantly.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I've already apologized to you for.
Oh, listen, I'm just the messenger, you know. I'm not
Just
Strahd, thank
saying.
God.
Just saying. It's
You just convert it to a dice rolling channel, Greg.
Yeah, that's true. I could just do that.
Just get one of those little drinky birds.
Get a
and
ton
just
of
hit your...
followers.
Exactly. And I
Anyway.
could just have them people on screen but muted all the time. It's just like,
Yeah.
Mhm, yep.
you know, that'd be great. It'd be like some weird, bizarre visual ASMR, but just dice. Like it'd be some
Yeah.
strange, you know. It'd be interesting. All of a sudden, everyone's like, "Wow!" It goes to
Like
Padman.
those cooking channels where they're cooking with tiny little implements. Do you ever see that? back in the
No,
Oh yeah. Oh, it's
really?
Itty bitty
It is
kitchens like this big, and
fascinating.
people make tiny little food in that actual
That's
kitchen,
awesome.
like omelets and pie.
Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
an omelet about that big around. It's
Yeah, and it's just a weird little thing, and it's
the whole table
strange
set up and
food.
everything. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. No, I've never heard of that.
Little
I'm gonna
bitty tiny whisk that you're like, how can
Yep.
the egg possibly get out of there given the surface tension? I don't understand.
I look
But
forward to
anyway.
looking at that and wasting far too much time later. But in any case,
It is a rabbit hole, I'm telling you.
besides this guy, who are you actually playing, Trent? Besides like
this
just
guy,
more
I am
specifically.
I am also one of the people with access to the character sheet for the river, so I will be assisting with running her brain. Though I think we need to do kind of a gestalt sort of thing.
Mhm.
But aside from that, I am playing this guy, Bear, the Hearthminder. No, there's more to it than that, but I can't think of it right now. Even though it's right
Thane,
there.
Tawny Bear, the
Stegen.
Hearthmender, Elf Friend,
It's Tegan,
Elf Friend.
pronounced Tegan.
It's not
Dwarf
pronounced
friend.
Tegan.
Dwarf friend.
Dwarf friend, not elf friend.
It says Elf Friend.
It shouldn't.
Also, it
Like, I
says
mean,
Hearthmender,
when was
not
the
Arth-
last time we met elves? Like,
supposed to
not
say
counting
Hearthmender.
River's
Hearthmender.
girlfriend.
Okay, it is the not Minder though. The Hearthmender, Dwarf Friend. All right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Because when we created Haven at Midway,
Right.
we changed it from Hearthminder to Hearthminder.
Hearthmender. That's right. Yeah. No, I got it all. And you're a halfling warrior. What? I know everything about you.
Where is that button that mutes
Yes,
your
exactly.
feed?
Damn it. No, it's always a pleasure to have Tren with us. And it is also, and you will see quite a bit of Tren actually coming up over the next few weeks. I should mention, by the way, next month, you will also see Trendane in our annual Christmas Carol performance with our vocalists, as Tren will make a guest appearance for
As
that.
The ghost future past.
Yes, we'll have to see how it goes. My favorite story. It's always really exciting to have that every year, and I'm excited for it next month. But anyway, always a pleasure to have Trent with us. Also a pleasure to have Brad with us, who just told me something I didn't know about little food construction that I never knew that existed. Brad, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. How is life in the universe with you, and who are you playing?
Things are going good. I am looking forward, even though I'm sad to miss Amal this week. I'm looking forward to seeing what we get up to, and I'm playing Olabras Took, who is an excitable, bright-eyed hobbit who, unlike Bilbo, wants to find adventure. He's been called and has the bug to wander, and so he gets into a bit of trouble because of that. So I'm curious to see where he goes this week.
Yes, I'm excited to see it as well, and I believe somehow Bolo has managed to get himself separated again, hanging out with Brindle, but we'll eventually connect up again with the party. So,
I have to get Flankseer back.
Yes, that's right. You need to get Flankseer back, and you need to figure out details about the recent encounter with the person who does things with poisons, don't you know? But we'll talk a little bit about that when we get there. Always a pleasure to have Brad with us. And today, last but certainly not least, of course, is our good friend Terry Tunes.
Hi.
It's good to see Terry. And Terry, I know you wanted to talk about some stuff too, so I'm gonna
Yes.
shut up and let you go.
Okay, thank you. So I've gotten some really bad news the other day. That is that a family member of mine committed suicide. Thing is, I haven't talked to that person in a long, long time. I last have seen him when we were both children. But the thing is, I am still in contact with a person that we mutually are close with in the family. And so I am basically trying to be there for that person right now. But the thing is that, like I said, I'm not sure if I said anyway, this is the second person in my family to commit suicide now. And thing is just that I'm now seeing like how heartbroken everybody in my family is over this, and like especially the people who were close to him. And thing is, like, we still haven't healed from back when 20 years ago my father committed suicide. And I know that the people who were close to that person have also not healed from that, and they are some of the people who were hit the hardest by that, and have been suffering from depression and all sorts of other mental illnesses related to that. And I just want to say that if you are somebody who has been suffering from suicidal thoughts at any point, or are currently suffering from that, it is so important that you reach out to somebody. It doesn't, like, everybody has their own reasons as to why they might feel that way. Like, I've been there, and it's not a good feeling to have. And it's just, somebody will listen. Like, there are like people who maybe you used to consider friends who still might consider you your friend, even though you might not feel that way anymore, because hopelessness and all those related feelings might convince you otherwise. But your family members, or even or health professionals, would be the best address to go, in my opinion anyway. I mean, people have like very differing opinions when it comes to these types of things, but point is, so important that you realize that you don't have to be alone with this, and somebody will listen. And I mean, I would just link now some numbers that you could call, but like the thing is, we all live in different countries, and different countries have different numbers to call for that. So please just go to the search engine of your choice and look that up, which where you can call, like maybe the local clinic. Maybe there's like a general number for like your whole country or region or state or wherever you are. And thing is, you don't have to be alone, and you need to remind yourself of that constantly. And to the people, to everybody else out there who has not suffered from suicidal thoughts or has not suffered in a while from that, I want to remind you to reach out to people in return who you might think they need it, like especially now with social distancing and all that crap. Like, it's so easy to self-isolate even more now, simply because you keep telling yourself, yeah, okay, I have to isolate myself because of the pandemic and whatnot. But now, like in the most populated part of the world, things are turning to winter, which means less sunlight, which is really, really, really bad for mental health. And I know for me, it always gets worse during winter days. And so talk to people, okay? Like, I know it's really, really hard sometimes to listen to somebody who needs it because, these are not easy things to talk about and not easy things to listen to. And I myself often find myself wondering, what can I even say to make this better? But the thing is, sometimes it's just enough to listen and to be there and like even distract somebody. Like if you have somebody in your family, in your friend circle of friends, whatever, who just needs somebody to be around, just like invite them to play a game online together, just like talk to them for a bit on the phone, send them a card for Christmas or whatever else holidays you might be celebrating. Just be there, remind them that people are not alone, that they don't have to be alone. And yeah, I guess that sums that up. So yeah.
I put in chat. That's all very well said, Terry. Thank you. I put in chat a link which Arudinal has now made into a command, which links to the World Health Organization's list of resources for this, and that's useful because it's international. So wherever you are, that's a place where you can go and find that information. I'll let Terry continue to introduce herself. I will say that what we do here is an attempt, as Pablo Neruda said, to struggle against silence. It is an attempt as well for us to reach back and bring some light to the darkness. And I think the biggest darkness is loneliness. It is complete isolation. Not isolation by choice, people who just like hanging out by themselves, but people who feel shut off, disconnected from the rest of the world. This is a struggle against disconnection. And what we do here, in part, is an attempt to work against that. So I hope people who are feeling despairing in their lives that are within the sound of our voices here will, as Terry said, reach out to someone for help. I hope if you know someone who you know is struggling, that you will not wait and you will reach out to them. And I hope that we can continue to think of ourselves here as the model of a community that helps each other up. None of us are an island, and we will only get through all of what we get through on a daily basis if we do it together. So the very important words, Terry, and again, I'm sorry for your loss and the impact on your family more broadly, and it's very well said. Who are you playing today?
I'm playing Inge, daughter of Ida. She is a dwarf from the Erebor and a stonemason by trade. And
A Thane.
a Thane. Oh yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting about that. A Thegan. No, she is a Thane without a G. Theyn, as opposed to Tony, who is a Thegn. Very important difference. But yes, she is a wanderer, and she is also, since relatively recently, a clan chief. That's what you call it, right? A clan chief. And she also has a trusty pony sidekick. His name is Lilleman. He is currently not running around with her. He is instead in front of the city that we are at right now.
Or is he? No, I'm just kidding.
Son of a... One of these days, I'm going to come to New York and just punch you.
You're going to be like, it's great to see you, Arp. Punch. Like, what is that about? Oh, man.
That is for that one time you broke Lilleman's hoof. I remember.
I
The North
remember.
remembers.
I love the entitlement of the modern player is not that we're going to kill them off, but that we might have slightly harmed one of their animals. Like, no.
You made them cry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You made them cry.
Yes.
Well, it is always great to have Terry with us. I'm going to post one last quote here in chat, which seems to fit, and it is from Tolkien. Oft hope is born when all is forlorn. The world is indeed full of peril, and in it there are many dark places. But still there is much that is fair. And though in all lands love is now mingled with grief, it grows perhaps the greater. Really one of my favorite quotes from The Lord of the Rings, and is indicative of a book which has a great deal of sadness in it, also has a great deal of hope. It is ultimately a hopeful book in a lot of ways, and so it seemed appropriate that Professor Tolkien would speak to them as well. And yes, what Garlic said is 100% right. It's about reaching out to people. Something that each of you can tap into memory is I agree, is extremely important. So yeah.
On that note, I just want to hammer it home again. Like, even if you might feel like nobody will listen and you are all alone and that you are not worth it, the thing is, you are worth to be listened to.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to find somebody to listen to at first try. Like, I've been there. Like, maybe the person you've been trying to reach is not available or whatever. It happens, okay? But, like, you need to keep trying. Like, eventually you will find somebody who will listen and who will be there for you.
Yep.
And like, even if you feel like you are being like you're asking for too much, or you feel like you are annoying people or whatever, like, thing is, even if you might be ending up annoying somebody, you deserve that, okay? It's okay to annoy people. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's better to it's better to have run the risk of annoying somebody, which is such a small thing. Like, that's like such a non-issue. Oh, like, you mildly inconvenience somebody over your mental health. Like, that's okay. It's okay to mildly inconvenience other people if that means keeping yourself alive. Like, that's such a important thing to keep in mind.
It's difficult to remember sometimes when you're in that state of mind that other people want to help.
Yeah.
It's important to remind yourself that they would like to help you. They just don't always know that you need help. So just making contact can sort of bridge that gap initially and start things.
Yep, that's right. It's a good idea to sort of, when you're in an okay space, to kind of make a note for yourself, so that when you get into that not okay space, you can sort of see that note that's true. Runo, man, you're gonna make me cry. That is exactly one of the reasons that we do what we do here. It is about community building. So I'm very glad to hear that. And yeah, no, not me, jerk. Let's talk about you. One of the best people on Twitch is like, yeah, you are. No, shut up. I'm rubber, you're glue. All right. Anyway, it's a reverse, influence. So, boy, I hope that's, how about that in English again, Barash? Because that's
alternatively in German or Dutch, because then I can read that. But
yeah, I was going to say it's either trolling or it's a Russian claim for the same thing. Actually, they may not even be Russian. I don't know. Anyway, if someone could translate it quickly and let me know, and then I'll either ban them or be like, okay, cool.
To me, but
English.
I'm not an expert.
Ah, man. All right. So, I'm going to pull myself out of that. Anyway, well said, Terry. Thank you. All right, let's get into our game, folks, as we do have a game to play about hope over despair, etc., etc. Let me fire up the music here, and let's talk a little bit about what happened in our last session, which was, as per usual, eventful, although it did not involve combat last time, but it did involve a lot of things sort of deepening whatever is going on at the moment within these circumstances. You said cool, cute stream. Oh, well, thank you, Barash. I don't know what to make of that. Thank you. Try if you can, when you're in here, though, try to keep it in English, please, so that everybody can enjoy equally the appreciative words. Thank you.
Also,
all right.
just for like people who are here for the first time. Like, usually we're not that much of a downer, but
No, not normally. But
felt like the right time to say that.
Yeah, no, I mean exactly, and also
usually we
I
just
try
make
not
dumb puns. So.
Well, I also try not to separate. Like, all right, well, let's not have time for any of that because it's time for game playing. Like, I try to weave these together a little bit too. So there's that. Okay. So, right. That will be the end of you. Goodbye. Let's start by talking a little bit what happened in our last session. Last time, when we were here, we were chatting with everybody about what was happening with Dale, and specifically what was happening with Longo. When the heroes of Dale returned to Dale after the adventures related in Wilderland Adventures, they probably did not think that they were going to come back to even more adventure and questing, but that is the way of the world in Middle-earth. And as it turned out, when they returned to Dale, they found that they were in the midst of another growing conspiracy. And over the course of our few sessions, we are actually now on day 10, which is hard to believe, but in our first 9 sessions, what the party has discovered is that there is indeed something going on with and around the city of Dale. First of all, Longo, the mysterious bandit, has been trying to gather more of the criminal factions of the city to his banner and is basically trying to build them together. For what purpose, it's not entirely known, except to consolidate power. In the meantime, Longo has also been involved in several other activities, including trying to get something, this silver needle, from Kelda, and in fact did succeed in getting the silver needle from the old seamstress Kelda, at which point the party, having investigated some of this, they not only... Oh, wow, and now Inga has it back. Yes. Different silver needle. Different silver needle.
Was real silver, probably.
But yes, having stolen the silver needle, they also apparently decided to cover their tracks and set Kelda's house on fire, not only destroying the house, but ultimately killing Kelda as well. This, as you might imagine, did not sit well with the party, in particular Inga and the River, who were there and got to see the house on fire, brought her out, tried to rescue her, although unsuccessfully. And so the party has now realized that there's some extremely serious stuff going on, and they need to find out exactly what it is. They've managed to gather some information from several sources. First of all, from one of the spies that was watching them, a man named Vig. They managed to find out that Longo had indeed ordered the attack on Kelda's place, was trying to get this silver needle, and that Longo has taken notice of the party and is trying to get them out of the way. In fact, at the beginning, when the party first went outside of Dale and wandered into this swamp where they were ambushed by orcs, that too was an attempt to get rid of the party by this same Longo. And so the party now is trying to find Longo and discover what his role might be, not only in the taking of the silver needle, but also, as Tani has discovered, in the poisoning of King Bard's queen, Queen Una the Fair, who has been laid low by this poison, which took place, apparently happened over time, and the poison which has now had a strong effect on her. The only way to recover, apparently, is to find the actual poison so that an antidote can be made. And so Tani has returned to the party, told them that's because they need to figure this out. It may be that all roads lead to Longo, but it may also be that there may be other places that they can try to track down in the city that might have information about this. While Tani... Yes.
I did not know that version of the game.
What do you mean?
All roads lead to Longo. I thought it was all roads lead to Rome.
Oh, yes, that's right. Eventually. And Longo wasn't built in a day. I will come up with other Rome-based comments soon. But yes, so the three of them, Vini, Vidi, Vici, it's not right, it's Weenie, Weedy, Wichi, I think. All three of them, Inga, Tani, and the River, retreated to an inn where they desperately needed a shower after the soot and dirt of trying to fight this fire. And while they were there, they were found by a guard who informed them of something, which I will describe in just a moment. But before that guard described something to them, we dealt with Bolo, who, as a part of the Broken Stone Irregulars, first a sort of trial member, and now apparently seems to be kind of in with them, at least from what we can tell, told Brindle what he had discovered about Longo while doing such things as working as the head chef at the Battered Mug, trying to turn it from a negative 3-star establishment into a at least 1-star establishment, maybe, step by step, using his great pan flank searer. And so Bolo was trying to make this happen and gathered some information about Longo and about a potential entrance that might lead to this place. He managed to track down not only the place, but possibly an entrance, a secret entrance, which might lead into the rear of said place. But he also told Brindle about this notion of the poison that he had heard about from Tani. And Brindle led him to an old woman named Calla near the eastern walls of Dale, who has this basically shop of horrors, it looked like. Very Halloween-y at the time. Lots of bubbling vials and, potions and all these sorts of things. And say again, and cats, and a black cat, yes. And Bolo, making some tea and listening intently, was able to determine first that Brindle and Calla very much do not like each other. Second, that this woman claims that this poison was not hers, but that she had seen and heard about this kind of poison being imported as of late, and that it came from somewhere deep in the north, somewhere from the waste, where the party, not Bolo, but the rest of the party, has been actually in its time when it went and dealt with Raynar the dragon at the end of Wilderland Adventures. But somewhere deep in that waste is where this particular poison comes from. It is rare and unusual for it to come from up there because there aren't a lot of people that live up there. And so, armed with that information, Bolo left with Brindle, and when I cut back over to the inn to describe what was going on with their bath and, getting clean and so forth, a guard knocked on the door and explained to them, almost out of breath from having run to reach them, that new information had come about the autopsy of Kelda, that Kelda had died mostly from smoke inhalation, but that there was also discovered on her tongue residue of the same slow-acting poison that had been used on Queen Una, Bard's queen, who is currently lying ill from the same poison. And so, as we begin our session, I want to start back with that crew. I want to start back with Tani and Inga, and then I will jump over to Bolo next. And I want to start with Tani and Inga and ask, with the river there, who seems to be sort of her arms folded, waiting for you all to act. The guard is just giving you this information and has departed, and it is now up to the party to decide what they want to do. So, Tani, Inga, the river who is not moving, what would you like to do?
River is just channeling her in a robar.
Yeah, exactly. She's just softly playing music over and over again.
Tani is looking very, very angry, grumbly. Suddenly very frustrated.
Oh.
Sorry, go ahead.
We just learned about that it was the same poison, right? We didn't know that about last time, right?
I didn't even remember that happened.
Yep, that was at the very end.
Right.
Okay.
I was
At the very
probably
end.
asleep during that point.
But I did confirm, I watched the video before this. So, yeah, the very end.
We are still in the alchemy shop, right?
No, you're in the inn, where you were getting cleaned up and everything.
Which inn? Where's that inn?
I don't actually
God,
recall
I'm
off the top of my head
always,
which inn you were in, but it was somewhere, I want to say it was over in this area is where I believe it was, but I don't remember specifically the name of the inn, to be honest with you.
Are we in our room right now or in
Yes.
the commons room?
In your room.
I'm trying very hard not to be upset about this.
I'm just
Bard.
thinking. Oh,
He specifically said that he didn't want information about this getting out and getting around for people to know this, which is why they didn't send anyone to find me. And yet, he just sends some random guard over with the information. The duality of this man really bothers me.
By the way, to be clear, just to jump in for a second, Bard did not send this person. This came from the captain, because remember Kelda was sent, and you folks had asked to do an autopsy, like, let us know what you find when you see the cause of death. So that's what this is coming from. The Queen Una part, that seems odd that the guard knows it for sure, but it wasn't Bard who sent this guard. At least you don't think so. It was from the captain. For whatever that's worth. Proceed.
what would oh god, what was his name again?
Longo?
Longo. Yes, thank you. Too many character names. What would Longo, if that was his doing anyway? Like, what does he gain from poisoning both the queen and a seemingly harmless seamstress?
Was she harmless?
That's a question. Like, what was so...
Tawny reaches out and grabs the hem or whatever of the river's cloak and holds up the embroidery that Kelda did right out there in front of the gate, so long ago before we went off into the swamps. It's like, and kind of looks at the rivers like, do you cherish this? And she probably would say yes,
Yeah.
very much.
She has her effect. Or, no, she still has it. They may have taken her life, but the value of what she has produced, the things of beauty that she has made, the joy, the things like this, so seemingly simple, bring to people's lives, they carry an effect of hope, of a restoration of the value of life and art and carrying on. The Queen does the same thing. She is much beloved by her people. And so to take out in their way these two, one great and one deceptively simple symbols of hope and beauty, can have a tremendous effect on those both high and low.
So now the question is, what is the end game here? If, like, I doubt he is just trying to destroy any hope that people might have here, like just out of spite, right? That seems like, I feel there must be something bigger at the end of here.
Oh, almost certainly. The question is, as you said, what? While those who are diminished by hopelessness are easier to manipulate, it may not be so simple a game of chess. Does chess exist? Does chess exist?
They have Wednesdays and probably also have chess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They have golf. They probably have chess. Just making sure.
So who knows how many moves we are from the end game, if at all.
Also, if this is about taking out people who give people hope here, he must have other targets, right?
You had us.
Yeah, but we should find out who else in this town has an effect on people like the Queen do and Kelda had. And hope that we are not too late.
Yeah.
What time of day is it right now, Arv?
I would say it's probably about midday, because you finished up fighting. It was kind of the early morning that you ended up fighting the fire. So I would say probably 1 o'clock, maybe, something like that now,
Okay.
maybe 2.
And we since finished washing up and everything?
Yes, this was after you were already clean that the guard appeared. Bolo has not returned yet, but otherwise, everything is together as you had planned.
Is the guard still here?
Nope. The guard
No,
just had to report and then had to leave immediately to go back to whatever they were doing. So,
Holding up a wall somewhere.
yes.
God, I need to remember what exactly all happened. It's been a while. Jesus. Too many notes.
Hey, Dragon.
Do what I do. Don't take notes. And don't worry about it.
So that I don't remember anything anymore.
Okay.
Great. No, what exactly did Bolo find out last time again?
Well, the stuff that your characters know, or that happened in the adventure.
Like basically something about that he found a possible hideout, right? Was that the thing?
Yes, and he had told you that he had found a hideout, but he went to gather some information. Potentially, he wanted to report to Brindle, and then also found out this information about the poison, and she led him to get some further information about that. But Bolo still does know, and I think may have mentioned to all of you about the possible existence of a secret entrance to this hideout, which he heard from rumors while serving people within the battered mug. So not only knows where Longo's hideout is, but that there is allegedly a secret entrance to it.
Yes.
So yeah, but Bolo has not yet told you about the poison information because he's not back yet.
Do we know where Bolo is?
No, you know only that he was headed to talk to Brindle from the Broken Stone Irregulars. I don't remember if you had all said that the plan was for him to come back to you next, in which
Oh,
case
does he even know where we are? That's the question.
I would assume you would have told him because you were with
Oh yeah,
him.
we met in between. Yeah,
you
yeah,
met in
yeah,
between,
right.
so
yeah.
yeah.
After the fire. Yes, I remember.
But he did say he had to go back to work.
Okay.
Yeah. That's true.
I
had to go to. Listen, the day job is killing me, and like.
Did we manage to get an antidote from the?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. I guess we should go to where Bolo is, and unless you
If
have a
there
better
is
idea.
indeed any sort of a residue of the poison we need to find, I need to go and see how much of it I can get from Hilda's remains.
Okay, in that case, I would say you go on ahead, I go inform Bolo, and then we meet up again. Okay, because I don't think it's a good idea for us all to go to the garrison, and then Bolo shows up here. He doesn't know where we are. Or we could just leave a note, I guess. Yeah, let's just write a note. I think that makes more sense.
Those never go wrong in the Tolkien world. You know. Dear Bolo, gone ahead in haste. Make sure the innkeeper gives you this information. P.S. I will be back within a fortnight. P.P.S.
Signed Inge and Company.
Yes, exactly. Signed Inge and
Oh,
Company.
that confused me so much as a kid when I read The Hobbit for the first time, because I was like, isn't that like just a thing that people write under like modern letters?
Is P.S.
And Company.
And company.
thing,
Oh, the and
yeah.
company. No, what it did for me was it actually created this new habit in me that I still do this day. I love the PS and then PPS and the PP. For some reason, that really amused me as a kid, like postscript. Anyway.
So yeah, we just write a note, leave it like with the innkeeper, I guess, and like the note says we've gone to the garrison. If we haven't returned by dinner time, then go meet us up there.
Okay.
I guess.
All right.
Does that work?
Okay,
Oh,
so then I'm going to have you, then I'm going to have the two of you head down to the garrison, and we'll come to Bolo in just a moment when we find out what's happening with that.
Yeah, unless we're going to leave the river there.
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Yes.
I was wrong.
The
I
river
thought
holding the note blankly, staring into space.
Well, it's stuck in the top of the lute while she's playing.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Okay.
just like stuck to her forehead while she's playing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when Michael J. Fox is playing at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, and he's got his family photo in the guitar strings, and he keeps
Yep.
rocking it.
Yep.
Just like that. And I was wrong. I do not have control of her thing, but they seem to be moving all on their own.
Oh, I just
so-
moved him over myself, but I'm going to,
Well.
just because I wanted to know where you were, but I'm going to have you control that person right.
River and to stone.
Okay, there's that. And there is...
I mean, it would make sense for Brad to play River right now, since he's not with us right now, so that he has stuff to do.
That's
Same.
true, actually. Yeah, that's actually a good thought. Yeah, Brad, if you don't mind, let's have you do
Usually I
that.
have those.
Since you're the new guy, we're going to make sure you have to play the entire game.
Yes.
Yeah, please play everybody, and they're just going to watch you do this. This is a hazing ritual that we all do.
Oh, River is like a really flat character, no character traits at all. It's
nothing.
fine. We will handle it.
She can't sing. Her dog is stupid. It's just,
Yeah.
Wow.
She hates animals.
She hates animals.
She's constantly trying to kill Lilimon.
Poetry is
Yeah.
annoying, and like,
Yeah.
why does anyone do that?
Miles' mental
Only
self
says
is
dumb
throwing
shit all the
daggers
time.
at us
It's
right
fine.
now. I feel you.
Oh, man.
Aligning the character.
Oh man. Meanwhile, outside the city, Lillimon
Can somebody
wanders
give me
off.
a character? Like, is that possible?
I did. I gave. Just the token. Sorry, I was just showing Lillimon wandering off into the hills over here. That's fine.
Heading
Oh
back
yeah,
to the
that's
north.
fine. That's great.
Just kidding. Sure. Let me give you info about the river. Actually, make sure. I think. Yeah. Okay. I think we're okay. I want to make sure I wasn't giving it secretly hates Bolo or something like. No, there's nothing of that in here. Okay.
Can't stand
Recently got a hold of a dating app and it's going off back to the north to start dating Raynar.
Yeah.
God, is this like in Shrek when Donkey married the dragon?
Yeah.
Okay. You should now have access, I think, to her sheet, Brad. Okay. Yeah, the goal is to get him in dialogue with himself playing different characters. That's something which, for example, Trendane has never had to do, having to speak to himself repeatedly in shows. Anyway. Okay. So you arrive then at the barracks here. So when you get to the outside, you see one of the guards that you had been working with, who was guard Tanner, is one of the ones you saw standing outside. Now, you know that the captain of the guard in Dale, Tani, is Cardis, but you don't see him. It's possible that he's inside, maybe. You don't know. But you see Tanner standing outside with another one, and when he sees you coming, he looks a little bit tired, frankly, Tani. When he sees you, he kind of, snaps to, not that he was leaning backwards, but he sort of even stands up straighter. He's like, "Oh, yes, Thane Tawny Bear, welcome. I had heard that you might be coming. We've kept the body inside if you wish."
Yes, most definitely.
And so they kind of part the ways and open the doors for you, and you and the River and Inga enter. You can see, now you may remember that when you were here last time, that this was kind of a buzz of activity. I mean, it wasn't crazy, but there were lots of guards moving around and everything. Now you would probably define this as being a little bit crazier. There are people moving around from place to place. There is that large board, which basically is a map of the city of Dale. And you can see that there are several new, what look almost like pins that have been placed into the board in several spots. And they look to correspond, roughly speaking, to where you just were with the Brokenstone, in Brokenstone near Kelda's house. And you can see that there's a couple of pins in there. And standing with his arms folded, looking as indefatigable as ever, is Cardis, who's standing there with his arms folded. He seems to be talking to several others. One of them seems to be dressed not in guard uniform, but in sort of a rich purple robe, and is stroking his beard as he looks up at it. And you're not totally sure, but this seems like you may remember having seen someone like this at the palace, at the castle, with Bard. This is not Haken, but you think you may have seen someone like this before, sort of looking up at it. And the captain seems to be talking to him as you all enter. And, I'm sorry, and I forgot the most important part. Sorry. Right next to them on a slab, I beg your pardon. Right next to them on a table, basically, that was set up next to the board is what is clearly a body draped in a blanket, so covering it over. Sorry, I forgot to mention that rather important part.
It's okay. That's exactly where Tawny's heading.
Yeah, okay. What about River and Inga?
I guess Inga just stays in the background for this because.
Okay.
Yeah, for the time being. And so, I'm catching up a little bit. Is the goal here to just follow up on what they've learned about the seamstress?
I think what Tani was trying to do was to gather the possible residue of the poison that they said that they found on Kelda's tongue.
Okay.
I think that was the main thing. I don't know whether other stuff is going to come through or not, but
It will.
okay.
But yeah, that is the primary goal as of the point that we walk in, is to get a hold of that residue. Because if I can't find any more of it, this is going to be his only chance to even come close to coming up with any sort of aid.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not talking to anybody. He's making a beeline for that body.
Okay, so when you get close to the body and the blanket that covers it, Caddis, not Caddis, sorry.
Haken?
No, not Haken. I just had this a second ago. Hold on.
Cardis?
If Haken
Cardis,
was
yeah,
there,
sorry, Cardis.
the river would kill him.
No, it's
And
not.
that's
It's not
why I
Haken.
take notes, Trent.
Yeah, it's it's Cardis. So there is a Caddis, but that's Brindle's lieutenant. Not. I want to make sure. Good work by me in creating those names. So
Good note.
Cardis.
Wait, my note for Catus is Brindle's lieutenant in love with her? Question mark.
I did not say any of that, but you can certainly add that part if you want. So when you get there, Cardis takes notice of you and sort of looks around and, Thane Tawny Bear. And he kind of nods to you and he says, I had the body kept for you just in case. This is a bad business. This is Rafe. And he points to the man in the purple robe. And he says, he's one of the head of the merchant guild here. Kelda wasn't herself part of that guild, but Rafe knew her personally. And Rafe turns to you, and you can see he has this, long white beard and these dark eyes. And he nods, and he says in this surprisingly deep voice, it is good to see you, Tawny. I have heard many, or I guess, no, he wouldn't say that. Thane Tawny. It's good to see you, Thane Tawny Bear. I've heard many things about you. I was a personal friend of Kelda, and this loss has touched us all deeply. I don't know what is happening within this city, but the good people of Dale do not deserve to be threatened in this way. If there's anything that I can do, with resources, connections, contacts, anything, let me know and I will spare no expense. I've already said the same to the captain here. And Cardis nods and, nods at you and says, points down at the body and says, this is what we have. There is not much beyond what you've heard from your report, but you're welcome to look.
Pulling back the blanket, he's setting up all of his stuff, and he just half glances up at Rafe. He's like,
When last did you speak with her?
2 days ago. It was shortly before some of the business that happened at the gate. She had been in relatively good spirits. There was a new festival that would be in town a few weeks from now. She had gotten some commissions for embroidery. I used her myself on some of my own work. I specialize in particular in silks. Her work was always exquisite, almost magical in its nature, and she was much beloved. She gave no indication that anything was wrong.
Who else was involved in heading up the commencement of this festival you speak of?
He shrugs and he says, technically, probably members of the palace. I doubt very much that King Bard himself would have been involved, but there were several who would have been responsible for it. I was one of the leads of the festival, along with several other prominent merchants, one leather worker in particular. But that was a standard thing, and this festival is not the most important that we have. It is simply a 2-day celebration of trade and commerce for the city of Dale. Certainly nothing that would strike anyone as being particularly unusual.
Trade and commerce with whom?
With the surrounding lands. It was originally established after the fall of the dragon. The belief was that by celebrating trade and commerce, we could increase trade between ourselves, the Elven King, and perhaps move things again from Escaroth to Dale and beyond.
and he's in the process of prying open her mouth.
Yep.
And using forceps to pull her tongue out and starting to scrape on it while he's doing all of
Okay.
this.
You're able to do that, with relative ease. Make a medicine check for me, by the way, Tanya, while you're doing that.
Meanwhile, Inge speaks up. You said something about a tanner? A leather worker,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Who is that, if I may ask?
His name is Fauner, but I know only that he and I have worked together professionally, you might say, before. But Faner has a tendency to keep to himself. He's a quiet, dour man, but does good work. And he's also well respected among the merchants here, largely because he does his work, keeps quiet, charges a fair rate, and doesn't create trouble. That's something important in these times. I'll come back to you in a second. Tani, with that 20, you do notice that there is, on the end of her tongue, a purplish, almost, what looks almost like a bruised area at the bottom of her tongue. It is not bruised, but it's definitely discolored with that kind of purple. Now, there's always a little bit of this that will happen based upon lack of oxygen, which is something which may be a consequence of smoke inhalation, but this is beyond that. This seems to be a particular section, and you notice that the residue, the purple, extends, like, how do I put this? Around, like it... The way to put it is that the purple doesn't seem to be on the tongue. It doesn't seem that it was delivered to the tongue directly. It looks like it was residue that came from something else, like, for instance, the roof of the mouth or something like that, which is something they may not have noticed. You made a pretty good medicine check, as you might have noted just now. So as you're pondering that, Inga, you can say other things if you wish or not, but that's what he says.
So I'm not the one that
or the river
saw that. Do you mean like could it be something that was applied via some implement, like a tongue depressor type thing, or a spoon, or
do you like that? Well, are you? That depends on whether Tani tells you this, because otherwise you're not going to know. Because
so I'm in the vicinity. I'm watching because I care about Kevin.
Right. But that what?
So I don't know what he says.
Right, exactly, because you wouldn't have picked up necessarily on that unless... Because you see the same thing, but you don't see the implications of it that Tani does. But Tani certainly could reveal it.
What Tani would have done, he may not have specifically pointed it out to Inga because she's talking to someone.
Right.
But if the river is standing there, Tani probably would have, when he noticed that, been like...
Yeah, okay, at which point you would...
Sort of...
Yeah, at which point the river would figure it out. Okay, so now you can go ahead and...
Also, Inga doesn't know jack shit about medicine.
Whatever with medicine, anyway.
He would be like, oh, see, she ate some weird blueberries, and that's where...
Can't trust those organic blueberries.
Inga's knowledge of medicine is, will this get me drunk?
Yes, exactly. What is the counteracting to getting drunk? River, so yes, you now you can ask the question you were going to ask then, since he gave you that little, hey. Type of thing.
Yeah. Do you think was it applied in some way, or how do you think she might have received that? I asked Tani.
The very first thing that comes to mind is that it was on the thread, and she was threading the needle.
I mean, like so.
And the fire.
Thank you, Terry, for the live description.
Yeah, demonstration.
The visual. Now you need to keel over, like in Princess Bride, like.
Our evil plan worked.
Yes.
This was all towards it. So her Kelda's place was set afire. How much of it is left?
It's pretty gutted. I mean, fortunately the houses around it were mostly spared, and the fire was much more prominent in the front. Basically, it was set in the workshop, which was also like the living area. So that whole front is basically pretty much destroyed. I mean, like there's just ashes and some bits and pieces, but nothing that's really salvageable. When you get further back in the bedroom and in the kitchen's fairly clear. The bedroom is pretty messed up, but not quite destroyed. And then when you get out to the little outhouse area in the very back, beyond the house, that is all fine. So the main area where she lived, the work area, though, is pretty much destroyed.
So just in River's memory, thinking back, were there do I recall any spools of thread or that kind of thing that was that was untouched, even if it was by
Not untouched. There were definitely spools of thread that were there the first time you visited, because you could see them everywhere. The second time, it's a lot of ash and cinders. You certainly didn't see anything untouched. Now, it would take you a while to sift through all the debris. It's possible that below some of the debris, there might have been some spools of thread that were spared. It would be looking, in this case, for a thread in a haystack or instead of a needle. So there's that, but your guess, River, is that there's not going to be a whole lot left. It was pretty destroyed from what you can tell.
Yeah, and if somebody poisoned the thread, they would likely have done it to, like, they know enough about her to have done it to, like, one spool or something like this that she was currently working on. Or
Well,
lines.
I mean, so you don't know that, so I'm just gonna tell you that River's cloak is blue, and she just got that one embroidered by Kelda recently. So, blue paint, like blue discoloration in the mouse? Purple, right?
Purple.
Blue. Yeah, but it's like,
But that
the way
doesn't seem
dice
like...
work.
Right.
Like, just saying, like, River would probably come to the conclusion, oh, maybe some of the poison residue is on my cloak.
Could
If
be,
it's
although it
soft
doesn't seem
red.
to be dye, just so you know, on the tongue. But yes,
Like, well, I mean, if it's like, she has something that has been embroidered by her.
that's very true.
Is it more like a subcutaneous bruising than it
Yes,
is?
except
okay.
it's a blotchy. It would look almost like a birthmark if it were on, say, the arm or something like that. But it's definitely odd looking, and
Reaction.
definitely seen. Yes, a reaction was seen with what it's like. Yes, some kind of chemical reaction.
I get that when I eat pizza, that's too hot.
So hard what?
Hard not to draw this comparison. I'm trying very, very hard, and it is, as just mentioned, very, very hard.
Is it hard or not, Tony?
It is
Tell.
incredibly difficult, just because, Sean Connery and I just it won't come out of my head. Sean Connery did a movie called The Name of the Rose. Where he
Oh
played
yes.
a
Oh
monk,
god, yeah.
Which all the monks had blackened fingers and
Yep.
blackened tongues because
Yep.
of the poison on the
Yep.
edges of the pages, and it's exactly where my brain is going.
Yep.
And because when they would turn the page, they lick their fingers and turn the page. Lick their fingers.
Decent movie, better book.
Yeah. Well, not the poisoned book. That was
No, that's not good. Yeah, no, you can't have that.
Oof.
Umberto Eco. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
forgot
that's-
Connery was in that. Christian Slater was in that too, wasn't he? Wasn't he the monk? He's like the young. Yeah.
The acolyte.
Yep. The
How will
acolyte.
we get out?
With some difficulty.
Yeah. Anyway. Focus on the thing. So while Tawny is like I'm sure some people of the many people who are milling about watching Tawny use a blade to scrape across this dead woman's tongue, are probably like, he's not making lunch, is he? No, he's not. And it's just like, but he'll kind of look up to Monsieur Guard Captain and be like,
And
summon him over.
the captain, so Cardis, comes over.
You probably spend more time.
And he keeps his voice pitched very, very quietly so as not to carry, which is a challenge for him.
Right
I
now,
am being
Simon.
silent.
This was as silent as
Keep this to yourself. Self.
If I speak any lower, I'll start liquefying everyone's organs.
So, do you remember this scene with the acoustic mine or the seismic charges of that horrible Star Wars movie? That one really cool part, even how stupid it was. Never mind, focus on the game. So basically, he's like,
You probably spend more time in her presence than I do. How much crafting, needlework does the queen do?
And so there is you're asking this to the captain, right? The guard captain. And Cardis says, I'm not certain. She certainly has done a fair bit of it, I know. It was something that she enjoyed, as I recall, but I don't remember how much of it she's done.
Can you send someone to fetch any thread she has worked with recently?
And he kind of gives you well, I suppose I can try, but why?
And Tawny kind of looks around to all the ears that are within earshot, which is why it's called that. He's just like, just do it, please, and to keep it quiet.
Cardis nods and calls over one of the guards standing nearby. It doesn't look like a greenhorn, maybe one of his, like, veteran types, and waits as there's a knock on the door. Yes?
Oh, so it was your printer that was running.
Yes, it was my printer that was running. I want to note for the record that my daughter is literally wearing her Lake Town hoodie today. I just want that to be clear. That she's got this, so it fits. Anyway, so he calls one of the.
We are playing Adventures in Middle Earth. How can you not know what Lake Town is?
Oh, I thought it was like probably like, oh, it's like another baseball-related thing.
I thought it was
Not a
basketball.
baseball-related thing. It's Lake Town.
This okay, no, I thought it was something like not related to okay.
I did too. I thought it was a basketball team the moment he said it, and then I was like, wait a minute. Lake
Yes,
Town
it's
doesn't have a
the
basketball
Lake Town Bardings is battling against the the Iron Hill Dwarves. All right, so he calls over the lieutenant. Yeah, the Lake Town Luggers, famous baseball team. Yeah. So he calls over the lieutenant, this lieutenant of his apparently, and whispers in his ear. And then the lieutenant kind of gives him, like, Tani, as you're watching this quickly, and I suppose the River can see this too. They're just kind of like, the guard sort of looks at him, and then with a certain more earnestness, the captain's like sort of like, don't ask questions, you moron. Just do what I tell you. And the guy's like,
This
and
guy saved your life a couple of weeks or months ago.
Exactly. And he sort of turns around and he kind of looks chastened and hurriedly goes out of the room, goes out of the garrison barracks.
Did Inge hear what was going on?
I would say not. I think you were focused probably on the conversation that was happening with you and Rafe. And speaking of that, so you had said the thing about the tanner, I believe. You'd asked for his name, and then. Did you want to go any further with that, or were you like...
Yes.
Okay.
Can I have his address, please? Just in case.
35. Okay. So he says, well, Rafe says he lives actually not that far from the Merchant's Square. If you were to try, then he gives you the directions as to why. And I will mark this on the map. Let's see. I think I called him... I think Fauner was the name that I said.
I did write down... Fanner,
that's right.
But with an F.
Right, it was Fanner. No, it wasn't. I just want to make sure. Okay, so I'm going to write that down here.
Yeah.
Fanner. The name must be written here. All right, Fanner's home. Whoops. Okay, so there we go. So yeah, Fanner's home is right around there, basically to the north of the square, according to the directions they give you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, so once you've sent off the guard on his way, what do you want to do then, Tani? Oh, Tani's not here. Then I will say for the River. Did you want to do anything else with this River right now? You don't have to, or are you cool with the information that you've gathered so far?
Yeah, there's nothing else I want to do at the present. I think we have a lead and we'll follow it.
Okay.
Wherever that thread leads.
Then I think, with everyone's permission, I'm going to jump to Bolo, since the plan was for Bolo to head to the garrison anyway. So I'm going to ask you to switch hats, Brad. And I'm going to ask you to head over to Bolo. Now, when we last left our diminutive of hero, but strong of stature, Bolo had just left. Let me move the thing so people can see Bolo. There we go.
You said to get myself a cup of coffee.
Okay. When we last left our hero, Bolo had just left this encounter with the strange apothecary, I suppose you might call her, Kala. And so Brindle left, sort of frustrated and was kind of walking ahead. And so as we pick up with you, just having left that area, she is like marching forward at a great pace, kind of grumbling to herself. So you practically have to run forward to kind of keep up with her, Bolo. she's just like grumbling to herself, just, stupid, this is what I get for dealing with a stupid fool like that witch, and just murmur. She seems to be heading vaguely back towards the Broken Stone Irregulars.
How do you know Kala, by the way?
Everyone who does any work around here knows about her, unfortunately. She's the person you go to if you want to get certain materials for various jobs. But most of the time I try to avoid using her. She doesn't have some of the same quality controls, you might say, that some of the others do. And I can't trust her. You've seen what she's like yourself.
Well, that's true enough. Have you had any trouble with that in the past, or is that just from other people?
Yes. There's been a couple of cases where few people around have been poisoned, and signs pointed back to her. She denied it, just like she denied this today, but I've always had my suspicions. She might be telling the truth about this one, but it's hard to say with her. The point is, I don't know who gets commissions from her besides me, and that's the problem. I can't be sure who her loyalty is at any one time.
Well, that's good to know. I'll keep that in mind if I run across her again.
And she says, Bolo, I need you to figure out what to do with this Longo. I'm going to try what I can to maybe see what I can do to circle around them, but if you have information about him, you need to let me know. And you need to make sure that you tell anyone else that you know about the same sort of thing. In fact, and she stops so suddenly that you almost run into her, like, she kind of like, and then turns around and she says, Look, and she points at you. You've said all along that you want to be one of the Broken Stone Irregulars, that you think there's something you can do for us. Now, I've believed you this far because, I don't know, maybe because I'm getting soft in my old age, which is funny because she doesn't look a day over like 25 maybe, but, anyway. Maybe I'm getting soft in my old age. And she says, but, and she kind of nods slowly. Something about it. She shakes her head. Somehow you're involved in all of this, Bolo. In figuring out how to solve it, I mean. I want you to get into that place. I want you to infiltrate it. If I try to do it, and if things go wrong, my people are going to be caught off guard, they're going to be exposed, and that'll be what's done for the rest of us. So instead, we're going to surround the area, the whole place. We'll hem it in. I'll get my people all around each side of it. Then you've got to get inside of it. Somehow you've got to find out what's going on in there. And when need be, you call for us, and we go in.
I can do it, and I think I can use the heroes to my benefit, to our benefit. I'll see what I can do to get them to help me in.
She tilts her head and she says, You're always going back to these heroes that you say you only happen to come with for a while. Why exactly do you want to bring them in on something like this? You're sure you're loyal to the Broken Stone Irregulars and not to your fine friends out there, are you?
I don't know that I want to bring them in so much as use them. They're useful tools.
Her eyes kind of narrow. I hear that language from you a lot, Bolo. How useful a tool do you see me as, exactly?
I see it the other way around. I'm a useful tool to you. I know the order of things.
She kind of lifts her head, folds her arms. You're either an inveterate liar, a complete fool, or both. And her voice kind of trails off, and then she's like, probably both. Well, if you get caught and killed by Longo, it won't come back to me anyway. All right, fine. And she looks back at you, and she like turns as if to go, and then stops and looks back, and she says, We'll do this in 3 hours as it begins to start moving towards dusk. But I want you to... Oh, no, this is the late summer. It's going to be longer than that. I'm thinking about right now, and I'm like, it gets dark about 6 o'clock. No, it's later than that. This is the end of the summer. So she says, we'll do this when it starts getting dark. Not quite that way. Maybe dusk. If you can infiltrate there, right around maybe 8 o'clock or so, 8 bells, then we'll have my people prepared. She said, I want you to know something, Bolo. In spite of everything, I kind of like you. But if you get caught by them, if you sell us out or try to, then you better feel like you can get away not just from Longo, but from the city entirely. because if he don't get you after that, I will instead. I make myself clear, my dear halfling. And she kind of like has her face pretty close to yours now.
Oh, perfectly. That would never happen. And don't forget, you have flanked you. I need that back. And I mean to get it.
And she nods. She says, I hope that a cooking pan will be enough to secure your loyalty. And then she stands up and she says, the whole city's to hell, going to hell, and we're all going honest. Frel, all of this nonsense, and just like starts cursing to herself, and then shakes her head, and then cloak swirls off. At which point you could follow, but you get the impression that she's sort of like, all right, I'm going to set up what I need to set up.
Okay.
So,
before she goes, do I know how? Like, do I have a method of getting in contact, or do I not know? Like, what?
I mean, you know where the hideout is, but if you're in terms of like, you get the impression that she's just like, I'm going to have my people outside the place, when that happens.
So as she's leaving, I ask, where can we find you in case we need help?
And she kind of, it's like, she looks over her shoulder. You know where to get your help, Bolo. Why don't you talk to your friends? You're telling me your, what'd you call them? Tools. You need to keep tools sharp, They might get dull otherwise. And she starts chuckling to herself as she walks off.
No.
All right. So, so we did we have a plan to meet at the garrison after?
No, you were gonna meet at the inn next.
Right.
Yes, and we left a note at the inn.
Right.
So, I want to head to the Broken Mug.
Okay.
I remember as we closed a session, there was somebody who like kind of saw me and sort of left. He kind of eyed Bolo and left to the inn, as I was asking around about long stuff. So I'm just gonna stop in for a bit. I'm gonna just put in a little bit of time, make myself busy a little bit helping things as if I'm still, there, and just make inquiries about, has any, ask the owner and the chef, that big guy.
Yeah. Well, they're twins, remember? So the owner is Malin, and then the chef is Fallen, I believe. So
there was that guy, maybe a regular, who gave up a little bit of information.
Yes, when you walk in, you don't know. Let me just say, when you go in there, because it's like early day, there's not a lot of people in there right now, including not the regular you talk to. Although when you enter, there is a small cheer from the assembled people, because there are a few people there, and they all see, oh, thank God, Mullen, someone's come back to save your food. And Mullen comes bustling over. It's about time. I don't know what took you so long, but Fallen wants to get back there and start taking over the kitchen. It's madness. What you need, you please. He is just like, looks absolutely desperate and looks like bags under his eyes, like he hasn't slept all night, and all this stuff. And a couple of people come over, they like clap you on the back. It's like, oh, thank God you're back. Don't ever leave again, type of thing. So
I'm gonna literally make a round of food for the people that are there and stuff. And prep, so like they're ready for the night shift and stuff like that.
Okay.
But while I do that, I'm just gonna ask if anybody has been asking about me and like my purpose and or the Heroes of Dale, that sort of thing, and just try to be sly about
right. So
that kind of thing. And,
Sure. So Fallen, the silent chef, when you ask him, his response as usual is just. Right, because he never says anything. His twin, the owner, Malin, says, What? What do you mean? Asking about you? Everyone's been asking about you. We need someone to save the food here. I've already said that. I don't know anyone specific. A bunch of them came in and said, do you know where Bolo, the hero of cooks, is? Where's Bolo with his magic pan? It's spread like wildfire. If you don't get back here and preserve this food, my inn's going to close down from riots. And he's, going about that stuff, so... So you don't hear anything from him. You do hear a couple of people. You do see that there are a couple of people kind of listening to all this, and they all sort of bustle over to helpfully add that they also had friends who had come asking for you, and would you like to meet their third cousin once?
He's back.
Yeah. Their third cousin, once removed, wanted to meet you directly, and all this stuff. But you get the feeling, Bolo, that none of these, sort of fit the description. The one thing you can say is that a lot of people are interested in the new Hobbit chef, at the battered mug, although it's not clear that any of those are more sinister than others. No one remembers your specific description, and no one thinks, has said anything about the heroes of Dale. They're just focused on the hero of the kitchen of the battered mug, basically.
Okay.
So.
All right. So after my rounds and sort of prepping a little bit, I'm just going to say, oh, I forgot one ingredient. I'll be right back. And then I just like shoo off.
Be back soon. Don't leave long. And he's like, I don't know how long I can hold them here. And there's just, you notice a couple people are starting to gather, and they see you. They're like whispering, "Oh, it's a chef, a battered mug, best food I've ever." As you walk past them, local celebrity. Okay, you make your way out, and then if you're making your way out to the inn, to the inn where they're staying. So that inn is more over here, in this direction. When you get over to this area, Bolo, when you get into the inn, you note as you come in, the innkeeper recognizes you and hands you the note that was left for you, which basically says, "We have left to gather more information about Kelda's death. Meet us at the garrison. Signed, Inga and Company, Gandalf Rune, PPS. Don't leave. Don't tell anyone about it for any reason. PPPS. Keep it secret. No, he did none of that. But just the part of the note that says where they are. Yes.
Wrong hobbit, though.
Yes.
Okay. Getting that, I will ask directions to the garrison and head over there.
Okay. You're able to make your way down fairly quickly. I would say probably in about 15 minutes or so. You've made your way. There are now a number of people, obviously, in the streets, but no one is stopping you directly. Apparently, once you get outside of your little circle, your fame as a chef is not spread throughout all of Dale yet.
It just means I haven't cooked long enough.
Yeah, exactly. Soon they will all know my name. So you make your way down to here. You can see Brad where I just
Caliph instead of the Caliph, which is a joke that only the Europeans here will get, I think.
Oh, I don't. Let us in. What's the Caliph on the
Oh,
Caliph?
it's a reference to French or Belgian, or both, comic book. Is no good. Is the name? It's a thing. That would take a long while to explain.
I gotcha.
Anyway,
Okay, cool.
Same person who wrote Asterix, I think, wrote that one.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say this is that kind of bonus content that only if you're European do you get here on the Arvin channel during Vegetable Earth. Okay, so you make your way down here, Brad. You can move your token down there if you like. And as you arrive there, you can see. And I would say that this happens because this was all going on while you were all deciding what to do, making your way over to the garrison. So I'd say this comes pretty close to the same time. Probably the lieutenant has already been sent on his way. Tani and company, I would say, when you see Bolo making his way up to the gate, to the doors. And initially they start to, hold up their hand, and then they recognize that you were with, Tanner, you were with the crew before. Actually, wait, let me think about that. Actually, I don't know that they know you now that I think of it, Bolo, because you're not one of the overall heroes of Dale yet, and you didn't go with Tani down to the garrison. So I think you would get to the...
Having left a note at the inn telling him where we went.
Oh, of course.
Told people
would have told people to wait for okay, well, that's fine. Well, then at that point, they see you, and then I would say at that point, one of them looks down at you, Bolo, and says, yes, are you Bolo Bros Took?
That's me, yes.
You're being expected inside. And they open the doors. The guards kind of look at you curiously, Bolo. There's still not that many halflings inside Dale. And as you pass through, you can see you can see one of them's like, I've heard that's the chef of the batter, but no, they don't say that. There's a buzz of activity inside the barracks, and you can see that standing next to the body of Kelda, on top of a table, there's a blanket half over her body, and leaning over her face and what looks like sort of scraping, using a special implement, is like scraping her tongue. Tani is doing work with that. Inga is talking to a man in sort of rich purple robes with a long white beard, and a person, yes, and a person nearby, dressed in sort of guard outfit regalia, with his arms folded, is standing near Tani and the river, who are kind of looking over Tani's shoulder at what it is that he's doing.
I'm, just being new to the situation. I'm just going to fade into the background a little bit and let the investigation continue.
Okay. But they now at
Gonna
least
say hi.
they see you and like
I announced my
Oh,
presence.
okay.
you see it and immediately, not at all suspiciously, melt into the shadows. It's like, we'll see this from a distance. Okay. Okay, so you
Bart
do that.
Comes in, gets ready to blow some big fanfare. It's like, well, the rest of just walked away. It's like, that's great fanfare. Thanks very much. I'm with them. I'm one of the heroes of Dale.
One of the heroes. Okay, so all right. So now that the group is united, yeah, go ahead, Brad. You were gonna say.
Yeah, I will sort of sidle up to Inga since Tani and River are, kind of occupied with the body, and I'll just say I have a bit of news I'd like to share, but we ought to be alone for that.
Okay. I mean, I think I'm done here. We can step outside if you want.
I just imagine Inga being like, everybody get out. We need to talk."
Someone's got a secret to tell us. Tell us. Okay. Okay, so just the two of you and the river? I guess Brad gets to decide both these things now, so to speak.
Well, actually, I want to wait for the whole group, so I'll just say, just wait till we can all talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Tani. So then I think it's on you in terms of when you feel done with your investigation. You tell me what else you're going to do as part of it. So.
His main thing is getting as much of this residue as he can, breaking up into individual pieces so that he can see what it dissolves in, if there are any things that it catalyzes with, just general scholarly medicinal stuff. To try to get a better idea of what it is.
Right, okay. So as you gather this, hey, what's up, Jedi Burner? Oh God, Spock's brain. Such a terrible episode. So as you are starting to kind of test it, the thing you notice is that this residue, when it is essentially when you try to separate it into its own, how do I put this, constituent parts, you notice that it quite quickly, you have a decent sample, and then as you're looking at it, even when you put it away in like a little vial, you notice that it starts to essentially dissolve quite quickly. And what becomes clear is that very quickly is that this is something which only seems to be stable when bound to something else. In its own form, it seems to not last very long, at least not once it's been applied. And so, the tongue part of it remains, but the poison itself still seems to be kind of like dissipating as you start to separate it. So if you scrape enough of it to get off of it, it disappears. Even from the roof of the mouth, same situation. That is obviously very unusual, and makes this even more difficult to transport. One thing that's clear is that keeping this in large quantities would be very difficult. It would have to be very small quantities of what is obviously a very potent poison, so you probably wouldn't need too much of it. But this may explain why it was difficult to determine because it was slow acting, because it doesn't, when exposed just by itself to the air without anything else, it, dissipates quickly.
Okay, well, he's jotting notes and whatnot, and yeah, he gathers up his materials and covers the body again. He's like, I'm not quite done yet. Just leave her be.
And the captain nods. Okay, so now all of you step outside the barracks, away a little bit from the guards. There are a fair amount of people kind of passing to and fro, but they are, at a respectful distance from you. In fact, at one point, guard Tanner comes over and is kind of like, here, you give them some room, kind of is officiously directing people well around you. So you have fairly, secure area within which to speak.
So, Bolo, what is that important information you got for us?
Yeah, so I'll relay what Brindle had said to me, that she's in no uncertain terms expecting me to help root out Longo. She's had enough of him, and so she set up a net. So we have some support, but she's looking for us to infiltrate and do what we can with Longo and cut the head off the snake, I think is what she's thinking, but
Wait, you know where he is?
well, we know the location of his hideout, and I believe we have some idea of a secret entrance into it.
That is excellent news.
So we can we have some time to scope it out, but I think tonight might be the night to give it a try. That'll be the time that we have support from Brindle.
Sounds good to me, though. Do you think Brindle can be trusted?
I don't know that we should trust her too far, but she very much wants Longo out of the picture. So I think we can trust in that much.
Okay.
So I don't think she'll betray us in any way, but we should just be careful not to bring her too close.
I see. So, Tony, did you find anything?
Yeah. The poison in question, I have my suspicions. I'm not certain if this is exactly how it was administered, but I cannot shake the feeling that whatever thread she might have been using is what had been tainted with this toxin, and so that when she would lick the thread to thread the needle, it would transfer to her tongue. This would explain, potentially, coincidentally, how the queen might well have been poisoned also, and how any poison that had been administered to her would have been able to slip past the tasters. It's not as though they'd have been licking the threads that she would have been doing any kind of needlework.
Like you guys can see how like the gears are rattling off in Inge's brain. And just so I learned that one of Kella's acquaintances was a leather worker. His name was Fanner, or is Fanner. So yeah, like you remember how earlier in the inn I said something about like maybe there are more targets. So if your theory about the yarn is correct, then he would also be in danger, because as a leather worker you also have to work with yarn.
More so than that, if what that merchant said is true, that festival of merchants that is coming up could very well spread things to a much wider pool of people.
We need to find out who in the town sells yarn and the likes. And need to make sure that they stop selling yarn until we found Longo.
Just who makes it. This poison doesn't last very long.
Oh?
If it is bound to a substance which will help it to sustain, it will last for a little while. But it tends to break down very quickly on its own. So it is unlikely that even the most raw flaxen thread would have enough organic material to allow it to persist. But if it were dosed in transit, much closer to the point of time when it was used, so we wouldn't just have to find out who makes them, but who distributes it, who delivers it to the various places.
Like you said, organic compound?
I would presume. Of course, I mean, Middle Earth does really know what an
Yeah.
organic compound is.
Yeah, okay, like in Middle Earthen words.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord of the Rings was also just translated by Tolkien, so so that
For example, it
us-
doesn't bond with nylon. Yeah.
Okay, okay, good.
The elven
No,
equivalent
but
of
what
Pfizer
about-
found in,
What about beeswax?
Very possible.
Because the kind of thread that leather workers use is usually coated in wax. And
Right.
we should go find him. I have his address.
Yes, we should.
Okay. So I guess we're going now, or
No time like the present unless we have something else to do.
nope? Then let's go.
Okay, so the four of you head off, well, counting Stone, five.
is with it.
Counting Stone,
Yeah.
five. Head off to find Fanner. This is a good moment to just reset quickly and welcome everybody to day 10 of Adventures in Middle-earth, Erebor Adventures, the Silver Needle. We are, as always, joined by the incredible crew of Trendane as Tawny Bear, Brad as Bolo, Terry as Inga, and, sir, currently not appearing in this picture, Lady Amal, who is currently grading and trying to catch up on that work and will be back with us next week, who plays the river. If you like what you see here, please follow the channel, sub to the channel, support the Patreon, and and thank you all for being here and checking it out. And you can check out our YouTube channel for past broadcasts of this show as well.
Probably watching and screaming at the screen. No, that's not what I would have said.
She could go into the Discord and see the same Zoom link. She could just pop in. I'm coming in to say, no, that's not what I... Okay. Not right. Okay.
Yes, because Amal is such an angry person
Yes,
who
yes.
lashes out at
Vicious.
Who
people.
rages all the time, yes. Okay, so I just moved all of you up here through this area. Now, one thing I want to point
Excuse
out-
me, railroading. You can't just move our tokens for us.
You're right. I will put you over to where you actually ended up. So,
At Lillemon's grave.
Oh, really?
oh, wow. I wasn't even going to say that. Oh, that got dark.
No, but you were thinking it, obviously.
Oh, man. Nay. Okay.
Don't
Um, no. So I was only taking it where you all said you were going to be. Now you can move yourselves. My apologies. Up to
No,
where
no.
Fanner's home is listed. So I just want to pull up the area with the map. Show me the map with the thing with the stuff. And here and there. There we go. Lovely. Okay. So even during the when it's not a festival, during the day, Market Square is often quite busy, and there are many things that you can find in Market Square if need be. As you pass through there, because it is not during a festival, it's not as busy as it might normally be, and there is a little bit of a path that is made for you as you are sort of going, through the people, various people kind of hawking their wares and, shouting declarations of, the awesomeness of their product. But as you are heading through all of that, there is a little bit of a, space cleared for the heroes of Dale as they go by. And you notice as you're kind of...
do that. It obviously hurts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
While she's stabbing herself.
I was going to say, with a poison thread, then... okay.
Is there anyone who is hawking lethally poisoned threads? Or anything?
Sadly, no. There's like...
Okay, I was just hoping maybe
Yes,
somebody
exactly.
stupid
The
enough to
best-
make our job easy.
The best of threads to kill those you don't like can be found here. That's Sir Maleficent
I
Evil
hope-
friend face. So,
These sound like empty threads to me.
haha, cute, very cute, very cute. It is a tangled web that we weave. So we are going to save ourselves as fast as we can, and right past the Merchant Square, you find the outside of where you're told was the tanner's home. And if you didn't know where the leather worker was, probably, Inga, you'd be able to figure it out from the smell, because it absolutely stinks with the smell of carcass and burned, and fire. You're sort of reminded rather unpleasantly of the experiences of this morning when fighting the fire at Kelda's place. So it stinks on the outside of it.
Urine,
Yeah, exactly, and all that. But there is no sign on the outside, and you suspect that's because he probably plies his wares down in Market Square. But at the moment, there does seem to be kind of a, from the inside you hear a doof, 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 like a banging of some kind, as if someone hammering away at something, and then the sound of this wheel squeaking inside.
Can I just like say that it's very, very odd that like the tanner's workshop would be this close to the palace, considering the bad smells and
That,
stuff.
and right there on the waterway.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it would probably be like somewhere down here, downstream, you know,
Well, I mean,
at the edge of the city.
I mean, there's a little bit of a distance, though. You got to remember that there's a lot of stuff. I mean, frankly, the fact that the palace is next to Market Square would be the thing that might be the most concerning thing. But that was done on purpose. The Bard, when he had his palace built, sort of rebuilt after the destruction of much of Dale, wanted to have this nearby to the merchants because he said that it was important to show that we had returned to trade and commerce, and that, you know, the crown, so to speak, was taking an interest in these sorts of things. And so that probably is the bigger thing. This is also, let me be clear, not an enormous house. Like, it stinks, but it's not like a megaplex, of that sort of thing. So
Just seems more likely to me that like
Bless you.
Gesundheit, that this would like the workshop would be somewhere on the edge of town or even out of town, and then they would just like come to the market every week to
Yeah.
sell their wares.
you don't know. I mean, you also were told this was his house too, not his workshop. So it's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah,
may
but he
seem a
would
little
live
bit
where he
strange.
works. So.
Yeah, apparently.
knew.
So
This is not a logical game. 1 out of 10 would not recommend.
So when you get to so you can hear the sounds coming from inside this place.
Yeah, knock on the door.
Okay, and there's a pause. The wheel stops squeaking, and then someone comes over. You hear a sound inside, and then, and the door opens. You see a very, very large man, not as large as Tawny, but looks to be human, but a very large individual.
That's
And you can see that what you
the hat your wife is wearing.
like her hat. They're giving
Yes.
you credit. They like your hat. So a large man, not as large as Tawny, clearly a human, not a Bjorning. But
Thanks are humans.
well, yeah, but not normal humans though. I mean, they do
When
not
we
have.
consume enough honey, we go through a metamorphosis.
Yes,
And
exactly.
just turn into bees.
Bjorning blood. They would really be considered different enough because they come from Bjorn's sort of stock. Anyway, when he opens the door, big sort of, beefy guy, very thick black eyebrows, black beard, black hair. Looks a little bit like a miniature Bjorn, maybe, I guess, perhaps. Although Bjorn is also super tall as well as being big, and this guy is not
teasing.
tall. Say again?
Stop teasing.
Oh yes, sorry to encourage your thoughts here, Trent. But he
If it helps, I also had those thoughts, Trent. So that's fine.
so he says, and you could see that his hands are stained, as if he's been working with stuff, and he like, "Aye, what can I do for you?"
Are you a fanner?
I am.
Do you have a minute to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? No.
No, slam.
I mean,
like
our
this
Lord
man.
and Savior Ero Iluvata. No. No.
Maybe still slam.
No. Can we talk somewhere, please?
And he kind of, well, rather busy at present. If you got a commission, you can leave it with me, and I'll do what I can for later.
Oh, I should of course introduce myself. My name is Inge, daughter of Thane Inge, daughter of Ida, at your service, and this here is my company, and like introduces everyone.
Oh,
You probably heard about the seamstress Kelda, her house burning down.
aye, it's a bad business.
Yeah. We have reason to believe that you might also be in danger.
And he sort of, me? Why exactly would I be in danger? I've got nothing no one would want.
Yeah, doesn't seem to be worldly possessions that are at stake here. Can we talk somewhere in private, please?
And he said, all right, you can
Thank
come
you.
into the shop. So you come into the shop, which is, it is...
Not well ventilated.
Yeah, that is a good way to put it. This is definitely not COVID compliant. It is very, very sort of, first of all, it's sort of stuffy and also very hot inside, sweltering. And you can see that there is a whole bunch of things. There's a trough of water, some kind of dirty water, and then a table.
Probably
and there
piss, so...
there's water. There's also a table with a bunch of pieces of sort of like what look like leather pieces in various states of finishing. There is some kind of heavy, you can see, and I guess since you were kind of talking about this in the beginning, that there is a heavy, not a needle, you would call it an awl, which is this thing that basically is a heavy, strong needle. I think I will show you an
It's
example.
a thing to punch holes into fabrics
Pick
and
up one
leather.
of your gavels. We'll pretend it's.
I have one somewhere, but like I would need to go get up and get it, and I can't be bothered. So good that just like the other week I was doing leatherwork, so I know shit
know I
about
have
leatherworks now.
So while he's gone, or away from the thing, I say that we
There we go.
decide that we have solved everything. And we
Yes.
win. Okay.
Yeah.
Brad, do you agree with that?
Yes, we've defeated Long.
Okay, very good. Then we will let him know
Let's
as soon as
see.
he puts his
There we go.
headphones back on.
I have a small version of this.
We take Longo to the garrison and turn him.
Right. And then the dream vanishes like a puff of smoke. No, as I've often said, I appreciate aspirational role-playing. The dream vanishes like a puff of smoke as you realize it didn't actually happen. So this is
And
what...
then rocks fall and everybody dies.
This is a small version of what an awl looks like. I don't know if you can see that there's a hole in it, which is basically where the thread would go in. And it's designed to punch through leather because a regular needle is not strong enough to do that. And so you need something which can actually punch through the leather to be able to use this heavy thread. So a much bigger version of this, basically not a Swiss Army knife, but a much thicker version of this is there.
Biggest danger
Wait,
with
there
those
is a hole in the awl that you have? Because the ones
Yeah.
I know, like you punch through and then you sew it with a separate needle.
No, I've always... Well, I don't know, but I mean, no, I've
Well,
always...
that one has a hole.
Yeah, this one has a hole, and I've always been told that that's what you do for... Now, in fairness, they probably are not doing heavy, like, industrial level work, but that's definitely what that
camera
is.
for us.
Move it over here. There we go.
Yeah, that's our camera.
Right,
I see.
so...
That does not even remotely look like the awl I have, so...
You probably have one that... I mean, again, this is kind of it's a Swiss
proper
Army
awl.
knife, right? So it's like,
yeah.
The worst part about those is that when you grab a hold of it and the awl is sticking out between you, if you start to slide off to one side or apply like a lateral pressure, the thing will start to fold in again and it'll crush your knuckles down underneath
Well,
it.
it's funny you mention that because my aunt and uncle gave this to me when I was about 12. I've had this Swiss Army knife since then. And the first time I got it, I thought it was the coolest thing. And so I did the stupidest thing you can do, which is I opened every blade and like thing on the knife at once. And while I was doing that, I successfully cut my middle finger. So I can still see a little bit of the scar to this day. So I cut my finger on my Swiss Army knife the first day that I got it. I was extremely embarrassed about it, and they thought it was okay, it was fine. And I have never cut myself since because I learned immediate respect. Do not do something dumb like open up absolutely everything in the Swiss Army knife.
So
I just thought it was so cool.
did you name it at that point?
Yes, I named it Finger Destroyer. No, I don't think I did. There's a hook there. It's cool. As long as you didn't damage the knife. No, I
You
did
named
not
it
damage
Crush
the knife.
instead of Sting.
To this day, I still have the different parts of it. Yeah, exactly. So, anyway. What we were talking about before I got into
We were
discussion of
turning
Swiss
in
Army knives.
Longo.
Oh, yes, returning in Longo.
Yes.
Oh, really, Dragon? Your dad gave you the same model? Oh, that's cool. There are a lot of similarities between Dragonspear's father and mine. We both read Tolkien to us, and so we've discussed our similarities in that regard before. So, okay. So anyway, you can see these things that are clearly the instruments of his craft. And he points at a bench and he says, all right, you can sit there if you want. Just have to clear off some room. Because there's like piles of what look like very foul-smelling, not well-cleaned carcasses, Tawny and, company and everything. And so,
Part of the process.
yeah. You can kind of shift it over there and
Volo
stuff.
starts coughing from the stench.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, Volo. Although it seems vaguely, it reminds you vaguely of scents in the Battered Mug's kitchen before you arrived. Like it was a little bit of just a kind of a
So I
reminiscence.
was thinking, like, I'm gonna go back to the battered mug. I'll meet you guys later.
It's pretty bad.
And then Fanner's like, "Oh, well, if you're going there, why don't you take this bucket of strippings that I like to fry them up and give them as appetizers?"
Exactly. Thank you.
That explains so.
So, anyway, so you all sit down
You.
uncomfortably on the bench, and he says, "All right, well, what can I do for you then? What information can I give you?"
Well, Tony, you take it away.
Yeah, now I'm trying to figure out why Tawny would be the one to take away.
Because you found the poison that had the theory about the yarn, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And the thread.
right?
Uh-huh.
So,
You all know what you want to say to me, or you're just gonna stand there looking at me?
we do. This is theatrical suspense. So, get it? So, no, you can't get it. You don't know what I'm talking about yet. So, the reason why we're here is we were curious to know where you get your thread from.
And he says, "Oh," and he looks down at this spool of very thick thread, and he says, "Well, I have several suppliers, but usually I'm able to get it down in the market. There's a stall on the south side that's has new thread coming in all the time, and I usually use a kind that's strong enough for my work." And he kind of points at the heavy brown thread that's already been woven through some of the pieces of leather and so on.
Did you cut me off a piece about that long?
Aye. And so he takes a rather dirty-looking knife from the side and holds up the thread and then and slices it off and hands you this very thick. I don't think I have anything to describe it.
That's
But,
okay. He holds out
Yeah.
a small flask that has a little bit of liquid in the bottom.
say again, Brett.
Like a twine almost.
Yeah, exactly, like a twine. Yes, and so you do
I could
that.
get
Okay.
some leather yarn if you want.
Mhm. Yeah, twine is a good example. And so,
Yeah,
okay, he does that.
Dumps it into another small a small flask that has a little bit of the liquid that Tawny subsequently discovered this stuff dissolves into.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to kind of stir it around and see if any, even for that short period of time that it is.
Does not
someplace.
appear to be.
Okay.
No.
How long have you had this?
Oh, this? Probably several weeks, I'd say. Normally when I get something like this, it's a pretty big skein and I can use it for a while. And you can see that it is actually a big spool, basically, of this thread. Maybe about half used now.
How long has it taken you to go from this being a full skein to where it is now?
Only 2 weeks. It's been rather busy getting ready for the festival and all.
Have you noticed any of your works where you've been using either this thread or any other that they have been become discolored near the points where you've been sewing through?
Discolored? And he says, no. Although, I must say I don't pay too much attention to the color of my work to begin with, to be honest. Leather's leather. It's about what you do and how you wear it once it's made. And I try to make some of the best. But as far as the color's concerned, no, I haven't noticed anything. Why?
And Tawny's just sort of staring towards the ground, almost like he stopped listening a while back. And
Oh, just curiosity.
He kind
I
of
mean, for example, and he shows his leather armor, which has, of course, been upgraded by dwarves.
yes.
So, it's a,
He sort of, and he nods, says, aye, that's fairly good work, which is probably you get the impression is his way of saying, I've not seen the like since the days of the ancients, you know, like,
Stop rubbing my nose in it, goddammit. Kind of thing. Yeah. Anybody else? Does anybody else have any questions?
Arf, can you remind me exactly what the dude said about him again? Like, he was one of the people who are gonna
he was one of the
organize...
yeah, he's one of the two people that's running this commerce and trade festival that's going to be this 2-day thing. And it was him and the guy in the purple cloak that you were talking to, Rafe, the purple robe, I should say, that you were speaking to. Rafe is the silk merchant. This guy is the leather merchant, or the leather worker.
And so, did we fear that because Caldo was poisoned, that other people were going to be poisoned?
That was one of the concerns. Yep.
But why do we have any other connection beyond they were both merchants?
The fact that they were both running this festival, and that there was this concern that the festival was going to be the source of a place where, I think Tani said, you know, more people could be poisoned because, you know, they'll be spreading whatever this stuff is far and wide using things that were made with this thread. As I recall, is what Tani described. But correct me if I'm wrong, Trin.
Big batches of the thread.
Or that too, yeah.
True. But if it was a slow-acting poison that people died from only because they licked it over a long period of time, why would clothes that people are wearing cause some kind of long-term effect?
No, at like a merchant's market, people would buy sewing supplies and then make their own stuff with it.
I suppose. Then why are we going to a tanner?
Because he also uses thread. That's a thing. Like, the idea is that if Longo's plan was to like destroy like hope in people by like killing people left and right that like seemingly have like no other connection than making people happy with their work, or the likes, then like other people could also become targets, and like this was just like the first possible lead that came up basically.
I could possibly see something where he's trying to destroy centers of commerce essentially in the city, or maybe replace them with his own, you know, type of thing, or something more nefarious. I'm just not seeing the connection to the tanner specifically yet, like why his thread would be part of that plan. I mean, maybe he mentioned getting it from some new thread distributor, right? Didn't he? A little bit ago?
Yeah, although he seems a little bit foggy about like where. You get the impression that he just gets the thread from a couple of these stalls that are usually on the south side of the market, and he kind of inspects it and then buys it. And so there are different people that sell this thread over time. You get the impression that he's never really paid that much attention to who's actually doing the selling of the thread.
So Inge asked the dude, Fanner, when is the next market going to be?
Well, the next major market will come this weekend in a few days. The festival is about a week and a half off now. A week from this coming Saturday, I believe.
The people who sell their wares at the market, like, are they only from in and like close to town, or do they also come from farther away?
No, some of the market people can come from farther away than that. There's a few traveling merchants sometimes that will come in, set up shop, be here for a couple of months, and then move on again. But I don't think there's anything particularly special about this. The Trade and Commerce Festival should do more, though. You'll get some more people from outside the city.
I see.
So I'm thinking we have a couple of avenues to possibly pursue. One is we have not yet received the thread from the Queen, from that guard that was assigned.
Right, because you left before that person came back.
Okay. So, maybe we should, give whatever time that we think that should be given, and an hour or something like that, and head back and try to see what came of that. Maybe test that thread just to consolidate our theory a little bit. I think we need at least one more data point before we start saying thread is being used to, commit some mass crime or something in the city.
Again to Fanner. Have you been feeling unusually drowsy lately?
And he says, no.
No?
I don't sleep all that much, but when I do, I usually sleep like a log.
Like Inge looks at Tony. I guess he is safe then?
Do you drink tea?
Tea? No. Beer and mead for me. And occasional water. And he kind of... You think you may just see his eyes flicker down to the trough of water, but maybe that's just your horror brain sort of, reacting that way. So...
Oh god, that's like the equivalent of like when I paint, like, when people who paint by hand. And like they accidentally, instead of like, they have like 2 cups on the table, like one was a paint
the
pot,
paint color.
one was a tea, and it's like grabbing the wrong cup.
Exactly.
Yep.
I like Arun knows the poor guy's gonna be checking his backyard for ninjas after all of this. Like, you may be in danger. All right, good luck to you. Like, what?
You'll
No.
never see them. It won't matter.
It's true. It's true.
Unless they're really bad ninjas.
And he says, look, don't take this the wrong way, but if you're planning to sell me some tea, I really don't need any.
No, nothing like that.
All right.
We're just confusing this guy more than anything now.
Well, I don't have any more questions, you guys.
So you tested the thread, didn't show any signs of
Right.
being tainted.
But if he got this stuff weeks ago, it wouldn't have lasted that long anyway.
Because is the thread treated with like wax, the twine?
The twine does
guess
not
back
look
in
to be
the-
treated with wax. No, the twine is at the moment just kind of rough with like, again, if you can imagine twine with slight little strings off of it and like little threads and so forth. Yeah.
Like back in the day, they probably would like wax it on the spot, like basically have a block of wax and then like wax it as they go.
Yeah,
instead of like
exactly.
having pre-waxed string.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
So I guess, can we?
Having
Like,
trouble
Tony,
swallowing.
maybe check the wax just in case,
Yeah, you do see there is a block of half-used wax that's there.
Tommy will ask if he can get a tiny scraping of that.
Of the wax? I suppose.
Does the same thing.
'Kay.
Different flask.
And again, seeing about a reaction.
Yeah. And
No.
warms it a little bit over any near candle.
Yeah, no, it does react like wax. It does melt slightly under the candle, but it does not. There's no reaction in the flask. No.
Okay. Well, I guess false alarm then. But better be safe than sorry, I guess.
Look, if there's any kind of problem with what I'm doing here, please let me know. Is there any danger? Someone coming after me?
Have you seen any?
Well, no. I mean, there was that canless I saw a few months ago. He owed me a few money, and we had a couple of harsh words. I'm wondering. I never really trusted the way he looked at me. But perhaps that's not a big deal.
What name did he say?
He said canless, and he's like, made sure we got into a fight. We did. I suppose he could be trying to get back at me. Why would he go? And he starts thinking about like, perhaps he could be trying to get back at everyone for the way that I made him feel bad that time. And
No, I don't think that.
yeah, no. Suddenly he's down this like rabbit hole. It's like because
Oh no.
the truth is, I've always wondered about him. You see, when we were children, and he goes back to this thing of like, this type of thing.
Tony's just sort of sidestepping towards the door.
All right, well, if you find Canlis, let me know, and I'm sorry if there's anything I've done that set him on the good people of Dale. Not what I meant to do.
Just like if like you should start to feel drowsy or anything and very sleepy.
Did
and
Canlis do that?
we don't know any Canlis, so
Oh.
unlikely.
Canlis. Now he looks very troubled. Canlis, make me
Oh,
drowsy.
just please seek out the
I've
garrison.
seen Canlis sleep before. We were roommates upon a time.
Oh my God, they were
I don't
roommates.
maybe. And he's sort of like, they could have done. And he starts like rubbing his beard. Looks a little bit troubled.
Borrowed your anime collection and never returned.
Took my Game Boy game that time, and
Bolo kind of reassures him, not to worry. I think this was a false alarm, but think about and keep your eyes open, your ears open. If you hear anything, see anything strange, and I give him the name of the captain that we trust,
Okay.
the garrison.
he says, "Aye, that I will." And if just so you know, and he kind of like motions you closer and lowers his voice. Be careful. If you see him, he wears usually a red hat. At least he always did. It has a big C on it. I think it's for Canlis. He kind of like
All right.
nods slowly at
Noted.
you.
All right.
Wait a second. That C is probably embroidered. Maybe it was embroidered by Kelda. The plot thickens here.
Yes, exactly. Oh, aye, that's Kelder's son. What? No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not the case. Okay, and you all make your exit with him looking very like he has like a hand around his beard and like thinking like this as you all depart.
It spins off into a murder of camp.
I was gonna say it's a great sideline. Yeah. It's a great spin-off series like the Finding of Canlis. Oh man. So okay. You're now outside Fanner's home.
Well, all right. So, I mean, in Bolo's opinion, I think we have a little bit of time to follow up on the Queen's thread.
Cute.
And then, I think we have a chance, perhaps, to, if we're worried about some larger threat to the city, maybe we should check out Longo's hideout. Maybe it's time to at least go and look and see what we find.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. So back to the garrison, I guess. See if the messenger is back.
So you're going back to the garrison, or you're going to try to find
Question.
Check the garrison to see if they gathered the Queen.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You just kind of tie off that knot.
Yes. We will continue to make this
Tie
happen.
up any loose ends here.
Yeah, exactly. It's a complicated weave, and we want to make sure that we cover that completely well. So, when you get back to the back to the garrison, the thread in the meantime has been gathered, and when you arrive back at the garrison, the blanket is back over Kelda's body, and you can see that Cardis is standing there, and he is holding in what looks like a small little pouch or cloth something. And when you come in, he goes over to you, Tani, and he says, "We just found this in the palace. It was brought back to us, and as you requested, I have it here. I told the men not to touch any of it, and just only gloves." And he hands it to you.
Tony starts setting up his stuff again and gets ready to start doing it. And he looks for some low-level footman. Could you bring me some tea?
Sorry, Trent, you're really quiet. I can barely hear you. Sorry.
Because I'm very, very sleepy.
Okay.
So you find some footpad.
Yeah.
Footman, and it's like, could you bring me some tea?
And he says, yes, sir. And
Not much, just a little.
goes off and brings you a little while longer a battered mug, branding, of just a bit of this hot steaming water. And you can see that there are some black leaves floating on the top.
so he sets to work doing his alchemy, medicine,
Okay.
stuff.
When he
Also with
oh.
thought that, well, the other thought that
Sure.
kind of came to him while he was walking is that it may not be a single part thing, that it might be something in the tea and that activates the poison.
Right. When you put the thread that was in there, you immediately notice that when you put the thread in, it starts to fizzle. There is definitely something on this thread. Now the tea depends on what you want to do with the tea, but the tea is just there, so you can choose what you want to do with it. But
he's not too worried about the tea anymore.
okay, yeah, no, it definitely the thread starts to fizzle for sure, or I should say the liquid around the thread fizzles.
And he gets not only the attention of everybody in his group, but also the guard captain,
And he sort of looks down. What is that?
part of the culprits, at least the culprit's plan.
And he stares. Thread? I don't understand. He doesn't like thread. He says like thread.
Are you saying the Queen's thread was
Exactly.
poison?
Thread. So he says, I don't then he does catch himself. He's like, I don't understand. What do you mean that the thread was poisoned itself?
Yes. This is why the royal tasters never picked up poison. It wasn't in the food, it's on the thread.
But who would have been able to do that? There's not that many with access.
Well, that should be a short list.
And he,
So
yeah.
I'm certain this is what happened to Kelvin, which is why, and he pries her mouth open again to point at the tongue. This. Now, when Tawny checked the Queen, he checked her pretty thoroughly.
Yeah.
Did he notice any of the?
Not on the tongue, but he was not on the tongue, but you would have noticed sort of generalized discoloration. I don't think you noticed anything specifically on the tongue, but yeah. And he says, so when you tell him that, the captain says, but she died of smoke, inhaling smoke. That's the healers told me.
Pardon. I'm fairly certain that this, pointing at the thread, is what caused that, and would have ultimately caused her death. But also the purpose of the fire was to destroy any evidence of this.
And he sort of shakes his head. Unbelievable. So he kind of shakes his head again and says, what must be done then?
Well, if this is the common source, as he almost says thread, but he backs off of that. Between these two, between the Queen and Kelda, it's likely they came from a common source. We find out from whom they acquired this thread and who delivered it. Because it may not be that the thread itself was, when purchased from a merchant, may have simply been thread and was dosed en route to death.
So when you say that, he kind of, his eyes widen a bit, and he's, Tanner, and Lieutenant Tanner comes over and, aye, sir. You were at the gate, weren't you? When the incident happened out there, the battle, the fight. Oh, yes, Captain, I was. You remember the wagon? What'd you tell me that it had? Oh, the one the dwarves are pulling, sir. Oh, silks, threads, things like that. And the captain kind of looks over at you, Tawny, and... Right, Tanner. Don't go far.
Which choice. He's like, I never get a chance to.
It's like,
Trying
it's
to
my
go
job.
through
It's all I ever
rounds,
do.
Everybody's like, come back here. We got you to get.
So he sort of looks back at you, and after Tanner sort of leaves the immediate area and says, "The dwarves."
Okay,
Ooh.
made mighty spell. Sorry.
Yeah, the dwarves of yore. Yeah, the dwarves who manage that cart.
Tulin and Dulin.
Yes. I doubt very much there's anything coming from them. They've been coming to and from Dale for a long time. But when that wagon was knocked over, there were a couple of skeins of that thread that went missing. They reported it, but we haven't had a chance to follow up on it yet. It only just happened, and there's been other things that we've been attending to. But it doesn't take a genius to put those things together. The skeins of thread weren't much, but they would have been enough, probably, to supply, I don't know, 4 or 5 merchants anyway here in Dale.
And the threads for silks are considerably more fine and delicate than those used with leathers.
Aye.
You mentioned a silk merchant earlier.
Standing right there.
Yeah, actually, when
Unless
you
he-
came, actually when
unless
you
he
come
left.
back, he's not there anymore. No,
Oh,
but it was Rafe was the name of the silk merchant, the
Oh.
one that you talked to for a while, Inga. Raef, in case you're curious, pronounced strangely, or spelled strangely rather. Rafe.
I always just spell it how I would think it would be spelled, so that I know how it's pronounced.
Mm-hmm. Then you find out that
Hey,
Rafe.
wait, that is the guy I talked to, right?
That's the guy you talked to. Then you find out that Rafe Vaughan Williams, the composer, actually spelled his first name Ralph, but it's pronounced Rafe Vaughan
Okay.
Williams. Yeah, threw me off the first time. I'm like, "Oh, Dad, you know Ralph Vaughan Williams?" He's like, "That's Rafe." I'm like, "Okay, sorry, Dad, I didn't,
That pronunciation?
I didn't know." Say again.
Ray Fiennes, isn't that his pronunciation?
Oh, that's true. That's right. Yep. Forgot
Wait,
about that.
does he just trade in silk, or does he also make garments?
No, the impression you guys that he trades in them.
Okay. He did not mention where he lives / where his workshop is,
No.
right? Okay. Who are we talking to right now? Haken? No.
No. Right now you're talking to Cardis, who's the captain of the guard.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, will do. Give me 1 sec, Driffin.
Cardis, do you know where Rafe lives, or where he has his workshop?
Give me 1 second while I'm just reading this.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that Tom Selleck in Crossfire Trail played a character named Rafe Covington, whose name is short for Raphael, but he goes by Rafe.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that. Because I always thought too they just made it Ray Fiennes. They just shortened it. And I wonder if that's because they were tired of people mispronouncing. Just like he's just Ray Fiennes, okay? He's just Ray Fiennes. Okay. So sorry. Now you can. Now I'm focusing again. Beg your pardon. So
Do you happen to know where Rafe lives, or where he has his workshop?
aye, the silk merchant over past the eastern side, and he takes a look. He goes over to the board basically, and he points up at the board to reveal. Hold on a second. Where's my mouse cursor? There we go.
Or
Dun, dun, dun.
To reveal this over here. This is the Merchant's Quarter. And this is where it's a very fast-growing neighborhood. And when the market is not happening, this is where there's a whole other bunch of stuff that's happening there, basically. But this tends to be more the wholesalers, if you will, right? Like people sort of talking about how they're going to, get the best, finest fabrics or whatever that will then eventually be sold in the previously shown market square up here. So yes, his home is supposedly over, let's say about there.
Okay. So I guess that's where we are going next.
well, Bolo has a thing he wants to do.
Oh.
Well, I think we have time, though. Brindle said she was setting up for nightfall, and we still have, I think, several hours before we get that. So
Yes.
we have time.
You're about, just so we're all clear, you're at about 4:30 or 5 or so. It should be getting dark in about 3 hours. So roughly. So yeah.
This is before they became stupid enough to make daylight savings.
Right, exactly. No, there's none of that in this much more sensible world, for sure. Yes. So yes, that's where it is.
You have sunlight hoarding time.
Exactly. So Cardis says, "All right then. Well, so what's your plan then? Should we shut down the market?"
Oh, whoever has done this, which looks more and more like it is connected to Longo. Our understanding is that he has eyes and ears everywhere, and something that big would definitely have caught attention. I would say keep a small group of your most trusted guardsmen. Tell them what to look for, and have them keep their eyes peeled. But don't do any major changes that might tip someone off.
He nods and he says, "All right. My concern actually is less with here in the barracks and more with there in the castle. If the information you've got is right, well, you've got someone with access up there. That's not going to be easy for us to track down." He claps you on the shoulder. "All right, we'll do what we can. Stay safe. What should I do with the body of Kelda here in the meantime? There may be those who will want to talk about burying her soon, you know."
I think she's helped about as much as she can at this point. So yes, I would say let her see.
And he nods and he says, "All right then." And he sort of calls a couple of his guards over and instructs them to bring this one out to what is essentially the morgue of the city. And they nod and carry the blanket-draped body out. And then just before you leave to head off to your next stage, he lowers his voice, Cardis does, and he says, "I know you're capable of taking care of yourselves, but none of this makes me feel easy. There's already been an attempt on you, you know. When you went outside of Dale, you told me there was an ambush. It could happen again. I'd feel easier if you'd let me have one of my guards trail you."
How far?
"Wherever it is you plan to go, assuming it's within the city."
No, I mean, how far behind us would they be trailing?
"That's up to you. I just want them to be able to keep some eye on you. They might be able to lend assistance. If something happens, they could get back and let me know, instead of finding out too late, like what happened this morning with Kelda's home."
Because there were several people, from what we understand, involved in the setting of that fire. So, one might not be enough.
He nods and he says,
More might be too many, but
2?
I don't know. It depends on how stealthy they're capable of being.
"Well, my lads are about guarding, not so much stealthing. That's for others." And his eyes, maybe Bolo, you imagine his eyes just briefly flicker past you just for a second,
I just kind of like look around.
Yeah, exactly. He
That's
says,
racist.
they're not much for stealthing, but they can try to do what they can to stay back at least far enough that it's not likely to be connected to you. But he sort of shrugs. "I can't know for sure. It's possible that they'll stand out as guards. Still..."
They might be recognized in general, they are in garb or not.
He nods and he says, "That's why I won't insist on it, but you need to be careful one way or the other. None of this feels right."
If we're feeling right, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
He nods again. "All right then. Good luck to you."
To us all.
And with that, you set off towards the home I guess, sorry, you're heading to the home of Rafe's home, right? I believe is what you
Yes.
said. Okay. So, since I will certainly not do anything like taking tokens down there, I will show you all that this is where things are. If you wish to head this way and not, for example, take a swim or make a baseball team, I'm going to let you go. Assuming you want to do something different than that, then that's where we're going to go.
This actually saves me from going up north and taking tongue scrapings from Reynard.
Yes. But that would be interesting. What did you want from me? I just want your tongue. All right. Then.
I've heard that there's a poison from the north, and given what your breath is like, I thought you might be the source. So just let me get some scrapings, and I'll leave you be with your heart.
How dare you? I think I'm trying to think how far through the sentence you get before he bites your head off. Like probably just, you know.
wouldn't care.
I've heard that. You know. I told you never to come here. Okay. Okay. Rafe's home, now it needs to be said that the Merchant's Quarter is a very different place than where you have all been before. First of all, there are a number of large warehouses, especially down near the quay, for many goods that are intended to be sold down the river in Lake Town. There are also some buildings that are used to store raw materials which come into the city or which may ultimately be intended for Erebor. There are some drinking halls and taverns and things like that. And there is also, here in the Merchant's Quarter, it's really a fast-growing area. Let's see. Put over there. Yep, that's right. So it's also a very fast-growing area, and so there are a lot of people kind of making their way past you and around you, and you see more than one person standing on the steps of their fairly nice-looking homes, having some argument with someone who's kind of like, you know, some of them have like a wheelbarrow behind them piled high with materials of some kind. Some of them have one person that you notice has a cloak that just has multiple daggers all down both sides of the inside, and he seems to be gesturing to it and like talking to the guy like,
What are you doing?
that type of thing, right? And the guy's kind of like, no, you know.
Nice.
You also see a number of what look like, these do look like guards, but they're definitely not town guards. They are standing out in front of some of the houses with swords. They don't look like a bunch of ne'er-do-wells either. They seem to be sort of more alert than that, but they are not dressed in city livery. If you had to guess, mercenaries maybe, private security basically hired by these merchants to protect their own goods. And when you get to Rafe's home, you can see that there is one such guard who is standing outside of that home. He has got a sword and shield. The symbol in the front of the shield is unfamiliar to you. And he's standing outside the home and is just sort of like looking around him. And when you come close, he... Hold it right there, please. What's your business here?
Greetings. We'd like to talk to Reef. Reef?
Rafe. I don't know who that is, but Rafe.
Rafe. Yes.
He lives offshore.
Yes, exactly. With his sister, Coral. So he... no, he doesn't do that. He says, you'd like to speak to Rafe. Well, do you have an appointment with him?
No, but we did. Well, I talked to him earlier today. If you would tell him that Inga is here to see him, he will probably not mind.
Oh,
That's,
Ingo. Well, all right. I'll ask him. Just please remain here. And he raps on the door, and the door opens a crack, and the person that you're talking to goes over and says something to the person inside, and then the door closes again. And he turns back to you and says, if you'll just wait a minute, someone should be out shortly if they know what you're here about. And
Thank you very much.
sort of a pause of a minute or so, and then the door opens back up, and the guard goes over and listens, and... Ah, yes. All right. Well, you're welcome inside. Just straight down the hallway there, first room on the left. And the door opens, and you can see there's a guard on the inside as well, probably the one that was whispering to this guard you were talking to on the outside. And there is a hallway with this really like luxurious-looking red rug, and it looks to be a red rug. Now, most rugs, as you all know, are made out of some kind of weave or cloth, but not usually silk. But this actually looks like a well-woven, thick silken rug, which would cost a fortune to make something like that.
Seems like such a waste of good silk.
Yeah, it's pretty but it's a very kind of, it seems like a very thick sort of silk, as if it's been, woven together many times. Notably, there is also beautiful embroidery of flowers around the outside of this rug, down to the tip and then up the other side. And when you come in, there is a faint sound of a harp playing and a slightest scent of perfume. This is about the most opposite experience you could imagine from the tanner's home, the leatherworker's home you were in earlier. And so you walk down your steps, making no sound on the silk rug below. Barely any sound at all. And you get to the door, which is open, and you hear, "Come in, please, come in." And you walk into this gorgeous room that has silk tapestries all along the walls of various colors. The seats themselves seem to be upholstered and have a silk, what looks like a scarf on the back of each one. And then there are several fine chairs in front of a desk, which is there. And you see Rafe, dressed in purple robes, as you saw him earlier today, is sitting behind the desk, scribbling on parchment with a quill. And when you come in, he's, "Yes," and he stands up. "Please, I'm pleased that you came to visit me in my home." And he indicates there are 4 chairs standing in front. He his eyes sort of look at stone for a minute, and he looks like he's about to say something, but then, and, say again?
He's trained.
And he nods. He says, "I am glad to hear it." And he sort of, indicates the chairs in front of the desk.
Yes, we take a seat.
He says, "It is a pleasure to see all of you, although I'm not familiar with you," he says, looking at you, Bolo.
I introduce myself. I'm Bolobros Took. I've joined this merry band, and I'm pleased to meet you.
My name is Rafe. I traffic and trade in silks here in Dale, and I am most grateful to the other heroes of Dale. Any friend of theirs is a friend of mine. Have you any information about the situation with Kelda? I am terribly sorry to hear about, as I say, what happened, and anything I can do to help I would like to do. She was well respected, as I said.
Well, Tony,
About to say, I am fading so fast. Somebody else had better take the 4 on this one.
That's okay. We're closing in on the end anyway.
oh god.
How much were we ready to tell Rafe?
Yeah, that's a question.
Right.
Much.
He looks at you smiling. Yes. You're like, well, how much should we tell this guy?
As little as we can get away with giving him.
So I understand that you not just trade in silk fabrics, but also in yarn?
I have done some work in threads, perhaps, as a function of my position, yes, but mostly what I do is silk, and silk specifically. Why?
Okay. Out of character question for it. What's the difference between yarn and thread exactly?
Yarn is more like what you would use to knit like a hat or a scarf or something. Thread is the very fine stuff you would use for other kinds of clothes that you would use in a sewing machine and things like that.
Oh,
yeah.
I have it the wrong way around then.
Yeah,
okay.
you want thread, I think.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay. That explains a lot. Jesus.
Never mind, we don't need you. Gets up, walks out.
Yeah, no.
Did we find out who supplied the Queen's thread? Do we know that?
Not clear as of yet. They got a sample of the thread, which Tani was able to test, but they don't know exactly. You didn't get any information about where it was bought from.
Is he wearing gloves or are
No,
his hands naked?
he is not. You can
Okay.
see that his hands are sort of long and a few wrinkles, and well manicured nails,
Of course.
They have great many rings.
There's like beautiful nail art going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about giving Longo's reaches long, right? So we may be falling into something if we give too much away here. So
Yeah, I guess
maybe
Inga
playing.
then. Oh, sorry, go on.
So I'll just ask this. I'll say we're investigating a couple of deaths that we feel like were no, it's not two deaths. The queen is still alive, right? She just
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, she's
unwell.
just sick, but nobody knows she's sick, right?
Just so you know, the queen's going to die soon, and like, it's like, ah, like,
Right. Nobody knows she's sick.
yeah.
Okay. So then I'll just say we're trying to follow up on any lead, that we can, and we're a bit worried that that the thread that Kelda used was used to poison her, and we're just wondering if you might have any thoughts on how that could have occurred.
So his mouth drops open, and the thread, the poisoning of the thread itself. That's terrible. Well, certainly Kelda would have used fine thread. Her embroidery would reveal that much. You may have noticed as you came in, the rug leading to my room was itself embroidered by Kelda. That's terrible. And he sort of looks around and, looks at some of the various tapestries on the walls and the silk scarves on the chairs and says, I do not do much work with silk myself other than to trade it, of course, but the manufacture of it, that's a whole different affair. And then he pauses. He says, although there is, well, this is something I hadn't even considered, but normally the access to thread, at least one of the major suppliers of thread here, are two dwarves that have been trafficking it for some time. Thulim and Dulin are their names. They
Yeah, we
are
met them.
also dwarven masons, but they have more recently begun to bring thread, for several years anyway, of different kinds. Apparently they were trying to come up with other aspects of business. And so their thread was of a fine variety and quality. Well, I know that they had said that they would be short on their thread supply because some of their skeins had been stolen from their wagon due to some, I don't know, mischance or accident. Outside the gates, I wasn't here, I don't know, but I heard about it several days ago. And I don't know entirely, except that the thread, therefore, was not being sold from them anymore. There were other suppliers, but I can't remember who would have been... Ronafor! And he sort of calls out, and this very well-dressed guy with spectacles walks into the room. Yes, Rafe. Yes, Lord Rafe. Bring me the books, please. So goes away, comes back a few seconds later with this big, leather-bound book, puts it on the table, and Rafe opens it and begins to leaf through as Ronafort leaves, and kind of puts his finger down. Yes, that's odd. And he looks
What's
up. He's
odd?
like, "Well, there's no entry for thread purchase. I think perhaps I may not have. That's right. I remember now. I didn't purchase any thread because Thulim and Dulin's thread was missing, and I knew I would have to find a new supplier in the short term. I didn't have time to do it then. But if I didn't buy thread at that time, I can't have been the only one. That means that the people who were left to sell it, there would not have been many choices. Maybe one or two. And the ones who sold this particular thread, I don't know. Anyone can set up within the market as long as they've paid the license fees. But it's quite possible that others may have bought some of this thread. But he says, even so, it doesn't make sense. The thread would have been in the family of the queen, or you said Kelda, right? You didn't say the queen, you just said Kelda?
Yeah, Kelda. Yep.
Kelda would have purchased this some time ago, probably. Not just recently. And so he kind of shrugs and says, it's odd, though. I hadn't even thought about the non-thread before, but yes, I didn't buy it as normal.
Well, we don't know when Kelda might have bought her thread that she used most recently. Maybe she stocked up a little bit around the same time.
It's possible, yes.
So the two dwarves had skeins stolen from them. It caused a shortage. And do Do you know who perhaps suddenly started supplying more at that time? Around that time?
And he says, no, this is only the last few days, and I haven't had time to track down what might be a new supplier. The thread is a smaller portion of what I do, and so most of my attention was focused on silks. There was no disruption there. No, I don't know. And he sort of thinks about it and says, there is the festival coming only next week, actually, and presumably there will be those selling thread then. I could make inquiries. That'll be about a week and a half from now, though.
You know enough of the people who might use thread. Could you ask around before the festival arrives?
Yes, of course. I will do so immediately and see whatever information I can gather. Where can I find you?
I give him who's the main captain at the garrison?
Cardis
Cardis
is his name. Yeah, Cardis is the guy you've been dealing with.
Cardis would be the man to let know. We'll check in with him.
Very well. I know Cardis. I'll make sure to get the information to him when I find it.
Since you have your books here, were there any earlier discrepancies of a similar nature?
And he kind of scrolls up and, or basically scrolls up, so to speak, with his finger. He kind of moves up and then he says, well, there was this from 2 months ago. Yes, and he points and there's a blank space again in the column. And he points at it and he says, yes, 2 months ago. Well, and he kind of shakes his head, yes, I do remember. This was not something from Dulin and Thulim. I had bought my usual thread from them. But there was someone who came to me. And he kind of looks up and his eyes widen a bit. Yes. He came to me and said that he had a new supplier. A new way that he could get me supplies of thread if I needed it. I was happy with my original supply. He was offering a discount. I said I needed to know more information about where it was from. He said what mattered was the quality, not its origin. I told him I didn't agree. Eventually I sent him off. I remember thinking there was something strange about him. Don't know why I didn't think about it before.
Who is that?
Yeah, what was that person's name?
He had dark curly hair and round cheeks. And
Was he halfling?
he looks up. He was.
Oh,
He
no.
said his name was Clovis.
Oh no.
And that is where we're going to bring this session to a
Wah,
close.
wah, wah. What a twist!
Aha!
Reminds me of there's a documentary series on Netflix. I'm gonna forget the name of it. Bad Money or something like that. It's about like how money can corrupt certain industries, and one of them was the Canadian maple syrup market, which is like very tightly controlled, and the actual raw product is extremely expensive, in gallon and 50-gallon drums.
Right.
Instruments and stuff, and there was like multi-million-dollar theft of one place, and so something that you don't really think would be a high-dollar industry, and then here we are with thread. The thread inside of Dale is like causing all these.
Yep.
Well, this is silk, so.
Yeah. The silk and the thread, which is interesting, and all sort of following them was interesting. That was actually really fun to see you all try to figure things out and work things through. Oh yeah, Triff had sent me this thing about this poem that she had written, but she was waiting until afterwards. So let's see. Here's the tale of Nine-Fingered Greg. Gulp. Lucky not to lose an arm or a leg. The knife from his dad was a perilous gift. Wait for it. Meant well, but could have caused a great rift. Yes. Almost did, in my finger. Waiting. There's more. I know there is. It's almost there. Few presents are more thrilling than a multi-tool. So now I'm going to take you to school. No. For a young lad, but he's little more than a fool. I mean, yeah, I was at the time. Almost. It's in his greed and his awe, he opened them all. and sliced open his hand, did he pray start to bawl? He did. He did. He really did cry. And that's because he was a sensitive guy. He knew that his finger was sliced and was cut. And that's because he had made himself a big butt. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm here to help.
Good.
And another
Very
tie
good.
with, but it turned out okay. Now he treats blades with care. And another tie with Dragon Spear, Arvin doth share. Very nice, Triffid. Very good stuff. I am glad that people are working on poetry during the process of the game as well. Thank you, Triffid. That's good stuff. So
nice.
this was good. Good fun session, although it was slow paced, and I'm sorry that poor Tren was falling asleep as we were doing and needs to go get some rest. But starting at the bottom of the column, we will continue this next week, and that will make things at least initially speed up since we will remember everything from the week previous. We will be joined next week by Amal El-Matar. You should be reading all of her work because she's great, and she will be back with us next week playing the River, who was ably played today by Brad mostly, who did an excellent job getting into her head, I guess I would say, during this time. But she'll be back in control next week. Moving right along, though, Terry, after sharing a very powerful and important personal message, which we very much appreciate, Terry, was fun to watch Inga going through things and like going up to talk to the tanner and kind of going all around Dale to gather information on this CSI, quest of yours, which I was enjoying, and now has got more information to work with. So how'd you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks find you next?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you that I got to take the spotlight for a bit at the beginning.
Sure.
So that was very important to me, getting that out there. And also, like, I'm sorry for, like, not really being there because, it's been a bit of chaos lately. So, like, concentrating on other stuff is a bit difficult right now. So I hope it wasn't too bad. But yeah, like remembering all the stuff that happened last time, especially because of the relatively long gap. Like, when was the last session?
It was last month. Yeah, it was like a month ago about because of when we played it. So
like,
yeah,
I do
3
keep
weeks
notes,
or something.
But like,
and the election happened since then. Like, there's a lot that happened.
God,
so yeah,
a lot happened since then.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I hope it wasn't too bad.
No, it was definitely not.
But yeah, to keep in theme, like I started embroidering, so
very cool. Yay!
I'm making
That's
Christmas
good stuff.
ornaments.
Using
like,
thread and not yarn, I assume.
Yes, thread. Yeah, like I had that confused because in German it's the other way around.
Oh,
like,
okay.
This stuff is called Garn, which it's like what cognate? Is that what you call it?
Crocheted?
No, like when a word has like a different languages, like the same root. Yeah. It's cognate, right?
I think you're right. Yes, although actually the word is now escaping my head.
Anyway, same root as yarn and garn, like literally one letter difference.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see it.
So that's why I figured like that would be it. But no, that also explained because I have a friend who knits a lot and she keeps calling it yarn, and I'm like, but it's wool. Because in German you just call that Wolle, which is wool.
Yeah.
Like,
no, we call it yarn.
No matter if it's made from actual sheep wool or anything, it's like the type of thread that you use.
Yeah, for sure.
God, it's so confusing. Yeah. But yeah, so
we will see you back here next week, and you can be found as per usual on all the things with Terry Toons, etc.
Instagram at TarryToons. So
good stuff. You will find more of Terry next week, so definitely make sure that you stop back for that.
Just a little reminder: reach out to your friends. Like,
yes, please do that. That is really important. Yes, again, everything that Terry said, really, really important and magnified here. Moving right on up the line, Brad, it was also a chance not only to play the River, but you got a chance to return, of course, to the land of Bolo, who was gathering more, information, and now has been reunited with the group as you're part of this overall CSI thing. And I like the idea of Bolo having in the back of his head a little bit of this. Okay, we're okay, but in a few hours we got to get to this place because, there's a net and Brindle and all that stuff. Plus, your little mini celebrity, gig as chef at the Battered Mug too. So there's that also.
Yeah, Bolo is starting to lament that he's going to have to leave some of these things behind. He may have to moonlight.
Yeah.
As a member of the irregulars and the Broken Mug chef.
Yeah.
First celebrity chef of Broken Stone.
Yeah, big lines for the CV, I think, right? Like just
Exactly. and I'm now predicting a Battle of the Five Armies style conflagration in Dale with like Longo's crew and the Broken Stone regulars and the guards and then the merchants, who rise up and help us and
Yep. And then exactly, and then the people who really don't want to lose your cooking, like show up all wearing
Yeah,
like
that's
pots
good.
and pans and mugs and stuff. Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
battle of the skirmish of the 5 groups or something.
Oh god, that
you know,
reminds me of like fifth or sixth grade English class, where we had to do this little Robin Hood play called Pots and Pans, and that was so awful, and my English was so bad, and I could not memorize any of the words. But yeah, that's just bringing back those fond memories of school.
That's what we do here. Brad, I saw that you posted a podcast thing. Where will the folks find you next? That there or elsewhere?
I mentioned in the last few episodes that Gene Booknerd had me by for a podcast and hadn't come out at the time, but it is now. So we talked a bit about mostly the Shattered Sand series, a bit about writing. So if people want to learn more about my series, they can check that out.
It's good stuff. Thank you, Brad. And yes, and I've talked about Brad's work before, but Brad really is a pro's pro, and just writes very good stuff all the time. Like you're not going to read it and be like, man, he was out to lunch on this one. So I highly recommend it. Slightly biased, having read and blurbed work of his before, but it's good stuff. So you should definitely check that out. And Brad, always a pleasure. We will see you here next week. We will also see Trendane here next week, assuming that Trend goes and gets some sleep now, which he is obviously desperately in need of. I did enjoy, however, sort of the CSI work of the various reagents. It's funny how Tawny is basically has somehow intersected with Weller and has just become like the version of Weller with the reagents and all that stuff. So I don't know. Eventually, every Trend character is going to become an alchemist or something, or at least an inspector of something like that. How'd you feel about today?
Given what I'm thinking about for a character for the
For Eberron, yeah,
artificer. Anyway,
yes,
maybe the art of the alchemist of subclass. Anyway, we'll see. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So, which for those of you who don't know, it was released in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything today. If you want to go look up the
Wait, today?
Today. It's released
I thought it was already out for a week. Oh well.
No, in D&D Beyond you can get it. Right.
Oh.
Anyway, thing. Yes, liked it very much. Today's stuff with things, and I'm glad that they're at the end when he's talking about all this stuff that happened with the cart at the gate like 2 days ago, and I'm like, wait a minute, this has been going on with the Queen for a lot longer than 2 days,
right?
And so I was like, check back in the books. Wait a minute, let's go back a little further. How long ago?
right. But made clear that was Of course, no, he doesn't know about the poisoning of the Queen. You haven't talked about that, but
right. But now we have a timeline. And now all we have to do is just tell the captain, all right, here's what we found. We'll be at Haven at Midway. Bye! And just leave. Somebody else play the heroes for a while.
Yeah, just abandon ship. Like, just wait for the screaming to stop. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds not likely to be what the heroes of Dale will actually choose to do.
That would be a misdeed.
Yeah. I think there's some shadow points in your future down that path, but
So, oh golly, oh joy.
Where will the fine people see you elsewhere?
That's a good question. Probably here on Saturday.
For the conclusion.
Sure.
This time, for real, of Curse of Strahd.
Which is what it says on the calendar. This time for sure.
Yes.
For the Curse of Strahd, where as if Weller hasn't been just bitchy, just snarky towards Strahd as it is for the last bit. I mean, he started out, he was not necessarily, he was afraid of Strahd, but, he demonstrated some modicum of respect born of fear of Strahd. Just as time has gone on, he's just been like, just gotten fed up with Strahd's crap, and he's just like, nope, I'm done. It's going to be like, that colonel in Stargate SG-1, whose name I've suddenly forgotten. And I almost said played by Jan Michael Vincent. Wasn't played by Jan Michael Vincent. Jan Michael Vincent was in Airwolf. Not the same thing at all. I want to say Colonel Danning, but that's not. Anyway, it's Richard Dean Anderson. You know who I mean?
Yes.
That guy. So how he's constantly just berating their enemies. And there was a point, I think, where Jonas Quinn was like, is it really necessary to antagonize him? And the colonel's like, yes. And I'm like, yep, that's Weller now. That's absolutely
That's
Weller.
canon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man. So we will see Tren
Colonel
for
O'Neill. That's it.
That's right. We'll see Tren for that on Saturday. But otherwise, you will see all of these lovely people back here on Tuesday for more Adventures of Middle-earth as they move towards perhaps confronting Longo / Clovis / whoever this guy is who's becoming a big problem for them. We will see whether or not that confrontation happens. But in the meantime, this was a great session. Chat, can we get some love for the amazing players? Thank you to Trendane. Thank you to Brad. Thank you to Terry. And we will see both them, all of them, and Amal back here next week. Thank you, players. We will
Good
see
night.
you all soon. He said ending. All right. And that is going to do it as well for us. That is going to do it for us for today, at least for the afternoon, although it is not going to do it for us overall, because, as I believe I have previously mentioned, I am now going to be, in about a half hour, heading over to Pen and Pixels, to GOG Com's Twitch channel for Pen and Pixels, where I will be GMing, or DMing, I should say, more of D&D with GOG Storm King's Thunder. So that's going to be a good time. I am excited about that. That's a really fun crew. And we have the debut of a new video today, a new video that you will not want to miss, put together by the incredible Screaming Joypad, now better known as Mike Smith. So you should stop by if you want to see this really cool new intro video for that crew. We'll be over there from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern, then a 2-hour break, and then at 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll be back here for the amazing Our Vocalists and more of Paper Mario the Origami King on our once-a-month voiceover session. That's going to be a good time. So that's what we've got going on. That game, that has now been moved to... I need to check the calendar. I'm out of the train yard, Hillness. I just got to the end of it. So I just started chapter 12. That is going to be on the 28th. It's going to be on Saturday now, Echo. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday the 28th. So a week from this Saturday is when that is going to take place. So, yeah. So that's what we've got going on with that. And that is going to be, incidentally, Dragon Quest XI, which barely beat out Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. And so that's what that's going to be. So, yes, unfortunately, we just finished Sticker Glue because I got to go get ready for my next session. But I'm going to have D&D in less than a half hour over at GOG. So fear not, more D&D is in your future and is on its way. If you like what you saw tonight, yeah, I love that music so much. If you like what you saw tonight, please make sure to follow the channel. Check us out on YouTube, !ArvTube. Discord is !ArvCord. Twitter is !ArvTweets. Our website is arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, !ArvShop is the merchandise area where you can get stuff for the Adventures of Middle-earth crew and also for the D&D with Infinity and Beyond crew. You can also soon get Esper Genesis stuff over there as well. !ArvTreon, that's right there. 22 patrons, $240 a month. It works out to about $195 or $200 after fees. All of that really makes a difference to the channel. I can put it back into the channel. I can get things like buying Dragon Quest XI because chat wanted me to play it, etc. And also putting money into the websites and the like. So all of that is a big help too. So any support that people can give there would be much appreciated. You can get cool stuff for yourself also, including a copy of one of my band's albums, inspirations for the players, a epic poem, custom character background, things like that. On the sub front, here, you can subscribe to the channel, as a couple people did today, and you can get a custom sub badge and emotes and things like that. That also really supports the channel, plus inspirations to help the players if you support at a high enough tier. So please consider supporting over there as well. And last but certainly not least, on the publishing front, we have Icarus, the Icarus graphic novel from Athos Arts coming out, which just came out on November 10th in retail. Very excited about this. Please spread the word and leave good reviews if you like which you already have. That really does make a difference. Exclamation Point Library for Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, which is my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment, coming out in print very soon. Exclamation Point Grayshape KS is my Grayshape Kickstarter on February 2nd, 2021. Very excited about the impact of that. And of course, the thing exclamation point BLM, Black Lives Matter. Again, the significance of asserting and affirming the importance of Black lives. Please go over there for more details about that. Last thing that I want to mention is a reminder that coming up next Sunday, we have a special fundraiser, which is for Soundclash the Clampdown. It's a special fundraising event. It's going to take place all day. It'll be a lot of fun, and it'll just be raising money specifically for Soundclash. Not huge fundraising goals, but definitely things that will help us. So please consider jumping over there, because you're going to get some cool stuff, hopefully, that you'll be able to see. Lots of games played, lots of fun and laughs and all that good stuff. So you should stop by for that. And yes, exclamation point Athos. Thank you, Echo. Exclamation point Athos for the Midwest Spec Fic book box from Athos, which is only going to be open for a few more days. Last thing that I want to mention, just to amplify what Terry said, exclamation point help now. Please make sure to do that, because it is really significant that you reach out when you need help and that people reach out to you. That can really make a difference. And that is the World Health Organization's list of resources, so that whether you're national to the US or international, you can still get information that helps also. Nope, no vote now anymore. Nope, we're good for that for now. Unless you're in Georgia, in which case you should vote in a couple of months. But for right now, we're talking about help now, because that's what matters. I want to no raid today, because we're just going to be going over to GOG at 4 p.m. Thanks to all my wonderful viewers. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Arudinel, Hillness, Triffity Mats, Dragon Spear. Thank you as well to my subscribers, Arudinel, Hillness, Triffity Mats, Dragon Spear, Echo Alpha, Nonstop, Aranth, Sticker Glue, The Rising Tides, and of course Trendane. I'll come back to Trend in a minute. Thank you to my wonderful players. Thank you to all Madden, Black Fury, Commander Root, Divinorium, Ekag, Gorgar, Idliara, Jagtress, Let's Do This Music, Lurks, Miss Totally, not bots, those last two, Mrs. Dunsel, Size 16s. What's up, Size 16s? I haven't seen you in a long time. Tauntoms, U. Christensen, Uncle Elias, V&K, Virgo Praz, and Zig Cycle. Good to see everyone here. Yeah, no raid, because I got to go get over and get working on stuff, because I need to make sure that I'm ready for 4 p.m. But please come by GOG at 4 p.m. for shenanigans with the amazing D&D with GOG crew. And thanks, last of all today, to my wonderful players in this adventure, Trendane, Brad Bollier, and of course Terry Tunes, for their amazing play. We will have them and Amal back next Tuesday for more of Adventures in Middle-earth. And I got, of course, a whole lot of tabletop stuff to come. That's it for me. Much love. Thanks, everybody. He looked mega. Yeah, he was super tired. I think you're right. So that's going to do it for me. Thanks, everyone. Much love. And I will see all of you lovely folks over at GOG in a little over 25 minutes. That's it for now. Much love, everyone. And I'll talk to you soon. Everyone be good to each other. Have a good night.